Louie T, welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Got a couple of topics to dive into tonight, and so we'll knock those down and then get out of here. Ron spoke today, wrapping up the first week of minicamp. There'll be a practice or two next week, and then they'll put a bow on minicamps. Remember, Washington lost a couple of days of minis because of the contact from last year. There was a couple of collisions in particular. I know I want to say Percy Butler was a part of one of them, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been. It was one of the safeties. I think it was not Defoe, All Pro Revo. It was a part of one of those collisions last year, if I'm not mistaken. And the NFL, I always wonder how the NFL gets wind of the contact, the amount of contact that's taking place at one of these OTAs or these mini camps. They've got to have like someone from the league office there, like some sort of official at every single one of these teams' facilities during these things or something. I mean, how else would they know? I mean, unless you got an inside source or a snitch, essentially, you've got somebody in the building that is reporting back. Like, how would they know? Anyway, that's irrelevant. They got docked a couple of practices, so there's only one next week. There was supposed to be another 3 next week, only one. I mean, it is what it is. So, we're coming towards the end of the mini camp portion. And after that, literally there will be a dead period of roughly a month and a half. And then there's the training camp at the end of July, and off we go. We're off and we're running. And for the next 6 months, we'll be talking ball and we'll be talking about this football team. And it will be blissful, right? I mean, we love football. This is why we're here. This is why we do this year round. So it's not that much longer that we have to wait. In saying that, Ron stepped to the podium today, his 3rd day in a row. I thought there was an outside chance that we would hear from the coordinators like we did last week. That was not to be the case. We did not hear from any players after getting 8 players each of the last 2 days. We got no players today, which makes a ton of sense. I mean, it's the last day. They cut practice short today because of the conditions outside. I told you guys yesterday, I don't know, where you guys, live. I know I'm here in Northern Virginia, and, the further north you go, the worse the conditions get. And it's not as bad as the day progresses, but first thing in the morning, which is usually when they have practice, like normally their practices start at roughly 10 o'clock or so. It's terrible in the morning, man. In the morning, that's when you smell it more. That's when you see it more. The air's thicker. It's a lot more to deal with in the morning. By the time the afternoon comes, it's not as bad, but they went inside and practiced today, so they cut practice short. So Ron, answered a couple questions regarding that today. But he, I thought some of the things that he said kind of went with the theme of what we've heard throughout camp. Some of the things that I want to touch on tonight. Let's start with Logan Thomas. This was one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight in particular is Logan Thomas. And I think I mentioned him the other day when I was talking about John Bates and tight end room in particular. Ron was asked about the tight end room, and he said, look, I've been really impressed with this group. He said they've probably made the biggest jump out of any of the position groups thus far since, Eric Bieniemy's taken over, and, you've gotten a chance to look at these guys from year to year. They look like a refreshed, energized and recharged group. And he's like, it's led by Logan Thomas, who looks like the Logan Thomas that we went out and signed in free agency back in 2020. He looks to be all the way back. And that's great news if you're a Washington fan, because of all the positions on the offense, the skill positions, that is, that's the one that I think we had some doubts about, or at least you're taking a wait and see approach. You may not have doubted. Most of you probably did and still do. And that's fair. because they didn't do anything. They didn't really contribute to this offense last year. And the one guy that did show signs of contributing has already injured himself for the entire season in Armani Rogers. So there are a lot of question marks regarding the tight end position. But if you're telling me Logan Thomas is healthy, I don't have any question marks about him. I know who he is as a football player. Nope, not the best athlete in the world. Nope, he's not a spring chicken. But I know he's big. He's very reliable, soft hands, can go up and high point the football, and gives the quarterback a safety valve. And so if nothing else, Logan Thomas is going to add true value to this offense if he is in fact healthy, which is all I heard this offseason is people ranting and raving about Logan Thomas being back. That's big. And then Ron even went on to say that, Curtis Hodges is making huge strides. And that's the guy that I'm pinpointing. When we talk about the tight end position, the guy that I'm looking for to make the biggest leap is Cole Turner. I've already spoken to that point already. Him and Percy Butler are two players in particular that I think we've diminished them in value and importance because of other moves that have been made, or just because of a lack of production from them last year, in the case of Cole Turner in particular. But Percy Butler, because of the drafting of Quan Martin, we just pushed him aside. We cast him aside and act as if he doesn't matter anymore. Like, he can't factor into this defense and he can't be a player for us. And I think if you're making that assumption, you're flat out wrong. I think Percy Butler's a guy that's being slept on right now, and people need to wake the hell up, because he could have the type of jump, and this is what I've been kind of latching on to. He could have the kind of jump that we saw from Defoe last year in that second year this year, right? This is his second year in Jack Del Rio's system, way more comfortable than he was a year ago. They threw a lot at him. I think it really overwhelmed him. Now he's much more comfortable. I think he looks at Quan Martin and says, they think that they're going to replace me. They think that this guy's going to come in here and outplay me. They got another thing coming. And that's what competition does. It pushes you. And if you can go to another level, if you're a real competitor, you're going to seize that opportunity and you're going to rise to the occasion. I think Percy Butler's going to do that. But back to the tight end position, I'm expecting the biggest leap to be Cole Turner. But I think the X factor of that group could ultimately be Curtis Hodges, because, again, someone has to step into that role. All right. Someone has to fill that last tight end void. Now, I've already said this. As soon as the injury hit, we could easily go 3 tight ends and not blink. But this staff has shown that they would like to go with 4 tight ends. So if, in fact, they decide to go with 4, then we pretty much know who the 4 are. If we're healthy, we know the 4 guys, right? If it's 3, we know the 3 guys. Like, we know with the tight end position, if we're healthy, that's one of the few positions. I think running back's another one too, right? Where we can pretty much pencil in. Hell, we could probably write it in pen. If we're healthy, we know what the running back position is going to look like, except for the 4th running back position. We don't know what they're going to decide to do. Could it be Jonathan Williams? Could it be Jarrett Patterson? What direction do they decide to go in? We don't know. We know who the first 3 running backs are going to be, right? And I think we feel comfortable with the tight end position more so than running back, right? Because there's no, to me, debating on what the tight end position is. If it's 3, we know the 3. If it's 4, we know the 4, right? So if they go 4, and I think they're going to go 4, but again, you got to give us a reason to go 4. If there's not enough talent at that position, just like we've seen with linebacker, when there wasn't enough talent, they weren't going to keep extra linebackers for the sake of keeping extra linebackers just to say, hey, we kept 6 linebackers. They kept 4. Like, we don't have any talent at that position. We don't need as many. We can have guys play special teams at other positions to make up the difference for the loss of the tight end linebacker position. So we're not going to just keep guys for the sake of keeping guys at a position that we don't have a ton of talent at. So if you don't have somebody step up at tight end, they'll just roll with Bates, Turner, and Thomas and keep it pushing, right? So Curtis Hodges is going to have to step up and show them that they need to keep a 4th tight end. And Ron has said he's playing well. He's showing them why they need to keep a 4th tight end, why they kept him on this roster last year, essentially by putting him on IR, when they probably didn't need to. You know how that works. They did the same thing with Cam Sims once upon a time. a simple ankle injury late in the preseason. Oh man, he's done for the year. Put him on IR so he can't join another team, and you'll have access to him next year. They did the same thing with Curtis Hodges. He didn't have a season-ending injury. He just had a little nick that they said, oh man, you're hurt. Sorry, man. We got to put you on IR, dude. Because they didn't want to lose him. So now he's going to get an opportunity to show why it is they didn't want to lose him. And so far, so good for him. And this entire tight end position, and Ron even went as far as to say, look, man, this is a very tight end friendly offense. We've heard that how many times this offseason, right? Very tight end friendly offense. Guys are taking advantage of these opportunities. And he's like, Logan Thomas looks good. And I've heard that a lot this offseason, like back to 2020 form. And I don't know if you guys recall how good Logan Thomas was for us that first year in 2020 when it was just Terry, Logan, and JD and a rookie Antonio Gibson. Like that was the extent of the offense. Terry, Antonio Gibson, JD McKissick, and Logan Thomas. And two of the four guys I just mentioned were running backs. So you only had two guys that were real threats at the receiver position. So I remember when we played the Steelers in 2020 when they were undefeated. And we went to Pittsburgh on a Monday night because the game got postponed because of COVID and everything. The Steelers had to play the Ravens on like a Wednesday, and then they had to turn around and play Washington on a Monday. The schedule was all janky. I remember the very first possession, Antonio Gibson gets hurt. And one of the commentators said that in their meeting with Mike Tomlin that week, he said, all we really need to focus in on is 24, 82, and 17. And on third downs, look for 41. And I was like, damn, he just pretty much summed up our offense in two sentences. Look for 17, 82, and 24. And on third downs, so look for 82, 17, and 24, period. And on third downs, look for 41, period. That was our offense in 2020. And then 24 goes down on the first possession of the game. Luckily enough for us, we had 89 that night. Didn't know he was going to show up and show out, but he did. But anyway, I digress. Logan was a huge part of our offense in 2020. And if he can get back to that in this offense with the weapons that we now have in Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel to go along with Terry, and now we have a dynamic 1-2 punch at the running back position in Robinson and Gibson, it could get pretty scary, man. This is why I'm so hopeful about this offense. But there is one caveat, and Ron had talked about it, and someone asked Ron again, and this is going to be a question that he's going to continue to get. What has Sadiq Charles shown you to instill confidence in you, this time around? Because we've gone down this road with him. This is the final year of his rookie deal. We haven't seen anything really from Sadiq Charles that would lend us to believe that he's the answer at any position, let alone starting at left guard. And he's like, look, he's just healthy, man. He's done some things to, put himself in a better position from a diet standpoint, taking care of his body, all that good stuff. But, most of all, he's healthy. And, some of those things go hand in hand. When you change your diet, when you target specific muscle groups, you change your regimen, you become a student of the game, but also a student of your body, and you take better care of it. These are the things that ultimately happen. These are the results. You stay healthy. And right now he's healthy. Again, no contact has been had really. So that could all change when we get to training camp in late July. But as of right now, he's healthy. He's the starting left guard. I'm pulling for him. I hope he, proves everyone who gave up on him, including myself. I'm guilty as charged. I'm not going to try to run from it now. I was making jokes just 2.5 months ago about Sadiq Charles. Why is he here? Who doesn't belong in this photo? Like, I'm guilty as charged. I hope he proves me wrong. I want him to prove me wrong. All right. I want him to work out. So hopefully he does. And Ron's like, look, he's looked good, but over the past 3 years, it's always been something. Hamstring, shoulder, ankle, foot, whatever. It's always been something. Hopefully this year he stays healthy and he can man up the left guard position. So we'll see. And I talked about this yesterday, but part of the EB magic, if you will, that we've seen taking place thus far is him instilling confidence in players. I think Sadiq Charles is one of those players he's instilled confidence in. Because before he got here, Sadiq Charles was an afterthought, and maybe that's part, they gave us some bullshit ass excuse, and it may be legit why they let go of John Masco. It just seems too good to be true. I think personally, it wasn't necessarily like most offensive line coaches can go with the flow. Whatever scheme you're trying to coach up, like, I know Masco is a much older coach, and maybe he's a little bit more stuck in his ways. And so maybe the kind of system that EB wants to run isn't something that he's as familiar with or too keen on. That could be the case. But more likely than not, I think EB said, no, these are the guys I want to give an opportunity to. And maybe Masco was like, I've seen enough of Sadiq Charles. I don't think he's a starting guard. And if you're going to try to force that on me, I'm out of here. Like, that's probably not enough to push him out. They probably wanted new blood in that position anyway. And Travell Wharton literally was, waiting in training. Like, literally, he's been there waiting for his opportunity. When they had an offensive line coach step up to the mic and speak, it was never John Masco. It was always Travell Wharton. He's been being groomed for this opportunity. But I'm hoping Sadiq Charles works out. But we'll come back to that. Put a pin in the offensive line, because there are questions about this offensive line. I want to, throw them to some of you out there tonight and see how you feel about it. But continuing with the conversation that Ron had with the media today, he, again, as he always will be, he was asked about Sam Howell, and he said, look, Sam's continuing to make progress. Yep. He makes a ton of great throws, and then there's going to be some throws that you wish he didn't make, some decisions that he didn't. But that's a part of the growing pains and the process that happens with a first-year starter and a guy that's in his second year in the NFL, and in as many years, a second offense, right? And, so second year in the league, and he had as many offenses in those 2 years. So it's a big learning curve for him, but Sam's fully capable of handling it, and he's proven that to the staff to this point. One of the things that I felt like was a misnomer about Sam, that I think most of our fans understand this, but a lot of people outside of the fan base don't, is that he's super talented. Like, he possesses all of the traits that you're looking for from a raw ability standpoint. Like, again, the size is the thing that's the knock on him. Okay. He's probably 6 foot. If we're being generous, he's 6'1". Okay, that's fine. All right, that's the only thing that he doesn't possess. But if you're talking arm talent, you're talking release, if you're talking athleticism, the ability to reshuffle your feet, throw from different platforms and multiple arm slots, Sam can do all of those things. And listening to Ron and everyone else talk about the arm talent, now how the ball has zip. Like, we know this already. We watched him in the preseason. We watched him in the Dallas game. I watched him at North Carolina. I know he can throw the football with the best of them. It's funny because we're having to try to, argue with people about his arm strength, because people are talking about him like he's some scrub. Like, this is like Taylor Heineke reincarnated. Are you kidding me? Like, there was a throw last year to Terry in week 18 against Dallas that traveled over 60 yards in the air. Are you kidding me? Yeah, right. Heineke, and I get it, the throw against Indy was flat-footed to Terry, but Heineke couldn't even get that thing to the end zone. Terry had Stephon Gilmore beat by 3 yards, and he couldn't even get it to the end zone from like 40 yards out. Like, we're not talking about the same guy. So please miss me with that. So, to hear Ron talk about his arm talent and him being able to make some of these crazy throws, we're fully aware, but With that said, there's going to be some great throws. Then there are going to be some boneheaded throws and decisions that he makes. And we saw everything in the Dallas game. I think the Dallas game is a great microcosm of what you should expect in 2018. He was poised. He made a lot of great throws, pinpoint accurate, gave guys chances to run after the catch. Also made a boneheaded decision in the red zone that cost us a scoring opportunity. When it wasn't there after that, he grounded it or he threw it away. He didn't force it again, right? He learned from his mistake. He also used his legs multiple times, picked up multiple first downs, including a touchdown, down in the red zone where he kept it on read option, cut back across the grain, got into the end zone. Like, he showed us a little bit of everything. Had a rollout to his left, threw across his body to Terry to get the ball down inside the 5-yard line. Like, everything that you needed to see, you saw it in that game. It's a microcosm, a snapshot, if you will, of what he's going to be. Perfect deep ball to Jahan Dotson down the left sideline, perfect deep ball to Terry McLaurin down the right sideline. One of the knocks on Taylor Heinicke was, hey, anything down the right sideline, Taylor's fine. You see the Green Bay game and the throw he makes to Terry, and we can go through countless throws that he made, to his right. The throw that he made in his very first start against the Giants in 2021, that was a flat-footed throw, and it was a dime back of the end zone to what was the hyphenated tight end name? Oh my gosh, Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, you couldn't throw that football any better. Like, that's an elite throw Heinicke made to his right. Anytime Heinicke had to throw across his body to his left, the throw to Terry, right, against Indy, the throw to Terry against the Philadelphia Eagles. Terry's got Darius Slay beat again. He's already cooked him once in the game. He's got him beat again. Lead him up the field towards the back pylon, up the field, and to the outside shoulder, and it's a touchdown before the safety can get over there. And the ball it's almost like somebody like blew the ball in midair. Like a giant just came out of nowhere. Blew the ball and it stopped like in midair. Like, he had nothing on throws to his left, right? That's not Sam. Sam can throw the football anywhere on the football field. So you got to see everything in that one game. Like, people are trying to diminish that game. We were on the Super Friends stream and they're all talking about it's one game. Yeah, it's one game, but you got to see everything. Like, that was, to me, a true snapshot of what to expect. There are going to be mistakes. I keep telling you that. There are going to be mistakes. That throw in the end zone, he's going to make mistakes. You're going to, oh, Sam, why? There are going to be some of those moments. There'll be a lot more of, damn, Sam, that was a hell of a throw. Man, that was pinpoint accurate. Gave Terry, gave Jahan, gave Diami, gave Curtis a chance to run after the catch. Damn, that was a good throw. And so Ron essentially is like, hey, look, he's growing, man. He's showing us all the things that we need to see from him to understand that he's adapting, he's adjusting, and he's getting better. He's growing. Somebody even asked him, has he done enough? Which I didn't think this was a great question, but I didn't mind it being asked. I get why it's being asked because of what was said yesterday, which to me was being blown out of proportion, but whatever. This is what you do this time of the year. Somebody even asked him, has he done enough to remain QB1 heading into training camp? And I'm like, Ron even said, a couple of days ago when he was talking about Chase, nobody's really losing or gaining a spot in mini camps and OTAs. Like, that's not how this is set up. You can gain favor. I'm pretty sure coming out of mini camps last year, they were looking at Derek Forrest and saying, you know what? There's something to this kid, man. Like, he's starting to get it. But they weren't ready to crown him. He had to show it again in training camp. So it's not like they were ready to put him in pen as the starting safety. He ultimately, was playing significant snaps against Jacksonville in week 1. But they didn't do that in camp last year, even though they, saw, or minis last year, even though they saw it going into it. But, Ron said, look, we're not making any rash decisions based off of what we're seeing out here. Training camp will tell the story. Preseason will give us clarity. So I didn't think that was a great question, but I understood why it was asked. But Ron was like, yeah, no, he's fine. Like, he's shown us more than enough to solidify the number one QB spot heading into training camp. All right. He's shown us all the things that we asked of him. And we feel confident that, he's done the things that he's needed to do to prepare himself to be ready for when July hits. So I feel confident about Sam. I love the fans that are outside of the market, outside of the fan base, or on the outside looking in, that still think that this is a real competition. Bless their hearts. There's still people out there that think Jacoby Brissett legitimately has a chance to start. Again, barring some kind of catastrophe that we can't foresee. If Sam Howell is healthy, he's starting week 1. Again, we've been through this before, and all Ron is doing is he's checking boxes. Okay. He's been here. He's done the whole I'm crowning a QB1 thing. It hasn't worked out for him. So he's going the 2021, method this time around. He did the same shit with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke. All right. And it was a very similar situation. The biggest difference was Fitzpatrick felt like a hired gun, much older, later in his career. I didn't see any real longevity with him. There were some people out there that felt like, hey, this could be a 2 or 3 year stop for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I'm thinking in my mind, this can't be any more than 1 year, more likely. Unless he absolutely murders it, he won't be back next year. This is a stopgap type of guy. And so that's the biggest difference, is Sam is here for the long haul. If he takes care of business, he's the starting quarterback for the Commanders now and into the future. And we're hoping for a very long time. But it's a very similar situation. Got a guy that's a career backup. Heineke at that point hadn't established himself as a career backup, but his talents, everything about him said backup. And we wanted to believe in him. And look, he had a hell of a opening salvo, right? The Tampa Bay game was the real first time we saw him. Thought he played his ass off, played his balls off. Then the next time that we really truly see him in a starting capacity is the Giants game, and he kills it. He had one mistake, and he atoned for that mistake, put us back in field goal range, and ultimately took us on a game-winning drive to win the game. He was fantastic. Then there was the Buffalo game. That wasn't great. Then he bounced back with the Falcons game. So we didn't know anything yet. We weren't sure. And I was really positive after the Chiefs game. The Saints game was an eye-opening experience because they weren't the Bills, right? The Saints game, we had no business losing that game. And Heineke played awful. And then the Chiefs game was the exclamation point. And then I told you, he's a backup. And it's okay. A lot of you did not want to acknowledge that at that moment. And that was fine. You needed more confirmation. And that's okay. And some of you still think he can start. Bless your heart. But at the end of the day, he's a backup. And that's what Jacoby Brissett is. He's a backup. They know it. We know it. Scott Turner knew that Taylor Heineke was a backup. And everybody around the league knows that Jacoby Brissett is a backup. They know it. We know it. And they brought him in here to compete, to push Sam so that Sam doesn't take it for granted like Dwayne Haskins did. But ultimately, like Dwayne, like Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's going to be the starting quarterback when the season starts. And like Carson Wentz. And, in 2020, there was no competition. They handed the keys to Dwayne and he wrecked the car. In 2022, they handed the keys to Carson Wentz and he wrecked the car. And again, you know what I'm about to say. I'm going to say it anyway. Before he wrecked the car, we put him in a position to wreck the car. All right. We put him in a position. We drained the power steering fluid out of the steering wheel and said, hey, drive the car. I don't know if you've ever driven a car that was low on power steering fluid or leaking. Trust me, you don't ever want to do that. Ever. Okay? Imagine the car. You know how the steering wheel locks when the car is in park and you turn the car off and it locks? That's how it feels driving your car without power steering fluid. That's pretty much what we did to Carson Wentz with the offensive line last year. Is we say, hey, no power steering fluid, but still drive this bitch. I mean, whip it, man. Drive it like you mean it. And he's like, I can't even turn the corner, bro. What do you mean? Still, he wrecked it. We gave him the keys, he wrecked the car. This time, they're going to take the Ryan Fitzpatrick approach, and they're gonna make him earn it. Even though Fitz never really truly had to earn it per se, but that's what they led us to believe, and we knew what was going on. We saw right through that. But that's the route they're taking. So it's good to hear that they're pleased with what they've seen from Sam to this point. So doubling back to the offensive line, this is something that I want to talk to you guys about tonight. Do you think that we have enough depth on the offensive line? This is the mistake that and fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you ain't gonna fool me twice. Sorry, not happening. Okay, now I have questions. And I've told you this. I've been excited. I've hyped up the offense. I've talked about the quarterback position. You know how I feel about Sam Howell. I've talked about the receivers. You can't tell me shit about our receivers. I will argue with anybody. If you want the smoke, come get the smoke about my receivers. I will go to bat for these boys, okay? You know how I feel about the receivers. Tight ends, they leave a little bit to be, they leave a lot to be questioned. And there's some things there to be desired. They leave some things there to be desired, but I think there's enough talent in that room. I, like you, would have liked to have seen them do something in a very tight end deep draft. I would have loved to have seen them pull the trigger, but if we had Amani Rodgers, I wouldn't be saying that. So I can't have hindsight. 2020, hindsight is 2020, right? I can't have hindsight vision right now. I can only look forward. I can't look back now. Because when we had Amani Rodgers healthy, I wasn't singing that tune. I was like, I would love to upgrade the tight end position, but we don't have to. And I already told you they weren't going to because they loved the position group. They went 5 deep. We are only keeping 4. They felt comfortable. Now we're down 1. You still got 4. They're still good, right? As long as nothing else happens, they're good. But that takes me to the offensive line, because I've said this the entire offseason. The one position that can cripple this offense. It did it last year. So we know they're fully capable of derailing an entire season, because I don't give a shit what anybody says. Wentz was 7 up and 3 down after 2 games. He was finding the talent that we had at receiver and delivering dimes. Don't forget about the throw to Terry against Jacksonville. All right, don't forget about that furious comeback against Detroit in week 2 before Chase Roulier kicked off what began a series of injuries up front. Don't forget about what he was doing before that shit kicked off, because he was throwing dimes. But soon as that damn line collapsed in week 3 against Philadelphia, so did his confidence, and it never returned. So we know an offensive line can derail an offense, especially when your play caller doesn't do a good enough job of adjusting to the deficiencies of your offense. So with that said, last year, I remember very vividly making the comment to all of you. Does it really matter who we put on the field? We got depth. I trust John Matsko. They'll figure out the right 5 to put on the field, and Matsko will coach these boys up, and he'll turn water into wine. We're fine. Well, not exactly. Not exactly. That didn't happen exactly the way that we hoped it would. That's an understatement. So in saying that, I'm looking at the same 2 positions that I looked at last year, because we didn't go into last year having any issues with center. We felt good about Chase Roulier. He just ended up getting hurt again, right? But we didn't have any questions about left tackle, center, or even right tackle for that matter. Even though Sam Cosmi, wasn't a given, we still weren't really questioning Sam. It was more about these 2 funny lookings that they brought in here, all right? They brought 2 dudes in from the outside that we weren't familiar with. We were like, hey, we were damn fine with Flowers and Sheriff. Who are these 2 dudes? Who are these 2 bums you just brought in here? And they were like, oh, don't worry, man. We know them from way back. These are some good dudes right here, man. We said, are you sure about that? It was like, trust me. Maxco said, trust me. Have I ever let you down? And we went, no. He said, all right then. I got this. And I trusted him. Boy, was I wrong. I'm not doing that shit this year. Love me some Travell Wharton. I ain't trusting nobody when it comes to this. I got questions about this offensive line. That's the only thing that I feel like can derail this offense at this point. That's where my confidence is at. This offensive line. Only thing that can derail this whole entire operation, if you ask me. So with that said, do you trust the depth that they've built on this offensive line? Because the way I see it, Sadiq Charles and Sam Cosmi aren't bad options at guard. Like, you can do a hell of a lot worse. I'm not really too concerned about them. If they're healthy, I think they'll do fine. There'll be their moments, more so Sadiq than Sam, I think. But there'll be moments where, they give up some pressure or they get beat or, that effort wasn't good enough. But I think across the board, with the 5 guys that they're going to trot out there, including Wiley and Gates, I think we're going to be fine up front. Right? But what happens, I don't want to put this in the atmosphere, so I'm just going to, you guys have to put your thinking caps on. You're going to have to fill in the blanks because I don't want to put this in the atmosphere, but you guys know what I'm talking about. What happens if something happens at either one or both of the guard positions? Are you comfortable? Because what they've effectively done is they've put up a wall around this offensive line, specifically at tackle and center. Because the last 2 years, center has been the position that has been impacted the most. So what do? They overcompensated for center. They overcompensated for center. They went out, they signed, immediately. First signee of free agency was Nick Gates, center, right? Then they go out and they draft a center and Ricky Stromberg, and then they bring back Tyler Larson. So they're 3 deep at center. We're not even thinking about center as an issue. Tackle, you got Charles Leno Jr. coming back. You already went out and signed Andrew Wiley. You still have Cornelius Lucas. They went out and signed Trenton Scott. You're good at tackle, right? You're fine at tackle. You can withstand an injury or two and still be okay. Drafted another guy that they think can play tackle, and Braden Daniels. What happens, though, if something happens at guard? Because they really, truly didn't do anything at guard. If we're keeping it a buck, they didn't do anything. They moved on from Norwell. Obviously, there's no more shit. What was the other guy from Carolina's name? I'm blanking on him. He was very forgettable. Okay. But they moved Trey Turner. They moved on from Trey Turner. They moved on from Norwell. All right. So that's 2 guys that were projected starters who did start for us last year who aren't here. Okay. One of our key reserves and backups at guard, no longer here, and a guy that I really loved in Wes Schweitzer. And all you really did was you promoted Chris Paul up the depth chart. You promoted Sadiq Charles up the depth chart. You kicked Cosmi, who hasn't been able to stay healthy, from tackle to guard permanently. And you said, hey, we drafted Braden Daniels, but, we don't know if he's a tackle or guard and, don't know if he's ready to help or not. But, hey, and if in a pinch, Trenton Scott can play all 5 positions. So, hey, you essentially didn't really do anything to ensure that if something happens at guard, we're fine. You did that with guard, center. You did that with tackle, but you really didn't do that with guard. You just said, hey, we got some stuff. We good. This is the same stuff that you had last year that you didn't trust when Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner were effing up. This is the same stuff that you didn't trust enough to stick in the game and say, hey, get the hell out. So now we're supposed to try now. And again, a year later, a year wiser, you know, we've heard the improvements that Sadiq Charles has made. He's talked about nutrition, you know, targeting specific muscle groups and being in the best shape of his life. So yeah, we're a year, you know, smarter, wiser, and maybe that all translates into better play on the field. But you're asking me to have blind faith in a position that was absolutely horrid last year. I can't do it. So my question to you is, are you concerned with the depth, not specifically with the group as a whole, because they've provided depth at tackle and center? Are you comfortable with the depth at guard? Is the real question. I don't want to make this, because I think I made it more of an offensive line conversation. And it's really not. It's really guard that I'm truly concerned about. I feel like we're fine at center. I feel like we're fine at tackle. It's guard that I'm concerned. And again, if we're healthy, this is a moot point. I think the guys that they are penciling in, specifically Cosme, I'm comfortable with Sam Cosme at guard. I think that's his best position anyway, to be honest with you. However, same thing with Sadiq Charles, hasn't been able to stay healthy. So, but I'm a lot more comfortable with Cosme than I am Sadiq Charles. Because even when Sadiq's gotten opportunities, he hasn't been overly impressive. But again, that was a different Sadiq Charles. New year, new player. Let's see if it's new results. But I will say that Chris Paul in year 2 could provide some much needed depth, maybe even provide us with starting capabilities. We'll see. We'll see what Braden Daniels brings to the table, because a lot of people projected him as a guard at the next level anyway. I still think, and I think they're holding out hope for him being a tackle, because I do truly believe this is the last year of Charles Leno Jr. at left tackle for this football team. I think they drafted Braden Daniels to mature his body, to get reps, to continue to grow and be ready to step in next year and start at left tackle. I really, truly believe they drafted a kid that came into the combine at 294 pounds. And they said, we see potential. He's not ready yet. We don't expect him to be. We got plenty of guys in front of him. He should never have to see the light of day at tackle, but we're going to groom him. We're going to get him ready. And by next year, when we're ready to cut bait with Charles Leno Jr., he should be ready. He should be 310 pounds and ready to roll. We'll see. I don't think they plan on him being a guard. But again, I could be wrong about that. You know, his performance on the field will tell them what position he is, whether it's a guard or a tackle or both. But I think they're grooming him to be the starting left tackle of the future, potentially. If not left, at least right. I think they view him as a tackle, though. So we'll see. Again, I could be wrong about that. But tackle's not an issue. Center's not an issue. Guard is where I think, man, this could go sideways really quickly. You know, one injury, you know, may not do it to us. But 2, I mean, at tackle, I don't even know if 2 injuries, and it could. I don't even want to speak that into existence. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna say to you, I'm a little nervous about the guard depth. I was sitting and I was thinking about all the moves that were made this offseason. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were talking about, you know, the offseason overall and how I felt about it. And I was going through, you know, all the, you know, the position groups on offense. And I was so enthusiastic about the receiving, you know, core. And I was talking about the running back group, and I was excited about them. And I said, man, people are sleeping on this tight end group. I think they've got a chance to do something with EB's offense that's very tight end friendly. I think this group has a chance to bounce back in a major way this year. You know, he knows how I feel about Sam. He thinks Sam's going to stink it up, right? which is why he thinks we're going to have a top 5 pick. He's a part of the masses, right? He's a part of the group think that has us finishing as one of the worst teams in football. So we vehemently disagree on Sam. But then I got to the offensive line and I started going through all the things that we've done, all the, moves we've made. And then I started thinking about guard and I'm like, I really haven't said anything about guard now, have I? Come to think about it, we lost 3 guys that were guards essentially last year. And again, 2 of them weren't worth a damn, but still, we lost 3 guys from the guard position in the offseason, and we really didn't replace any of them. Come to think about it, Now, bringing in Andrew Wiley allows you to slide Sam inside. So, in theory, you replaced one. Chris Paul was here last year, right? Sadiq Charles was here last year. Trent Scott can play theoretically all 5 positions, but he's probably more of a tackle. And I think he can play guard as well. But I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud. Maybe I'm, reading too much into the situation. If there's one thing that gives me a slight pause, the reason that I'm not jumping and bouncing off the damn walls about this offense right now is this damn offensive line. If I could count on 5 dudes, I would be unbearable right now when it comes to this offense. Even with Sam Howell at quarterback and not knowing, I'd be unbearable because of what I think Sam's going to be. You fans out there that have been like, you need to tone it down, Louie T. You're hyping us up again. Oh, you think this shit is bad? Had we had 5 dudes we could count on, you might have to stop watching this channel because I would have been talking so much shit. But I'm not sure. And I watched this offensive line single-handedly bring this offense to its knees. Because you can say what you want about Scott Turner, and he was ass. I'm not looking to defend him any longer, okay? I stopped doing that last year, okay? However, we weren't talking shit about Scott after the first 2 weeks. Now, were we? Not when we scored 29 against Jacksonville or 28 against Jacksonville and 29 against, 28, 29, whatever the hell it was against Detroit, 27. I think it was 27, 36 to 27, that final score ended up being. We weren't saying shit. We scored 4 touchdowns in back-to-back games. When the last time we did that shit? We weren't complaining about his ass then, were we? No, we weren't. It wasn't until the offensive line fell the hell apart that we started bitching and complaining about Scott Turner. So I said all of that to say this. I hope this offensive line has their shit together. I hope we stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. If these dudes aren't good enough, they're healthy and they're just not good enough, that's on the coaching staff. You picked them, you coached them, they weren't good enough, it's on you. But you know what else is on you? If we have 1 or 2 injuries and it brings this offensive line to its knees again, and it cripples this offense, it bottlenecks this offense again for the 2nd year in a row, that's also on you. Last year, you were kind of blindsided. Shit happens. Can't fix everything. I keep telling you, you can't fix everything in one offseason. We didn't have a lot of shit that we had to fix this offseason, right? We didn't have a lot of things that we had to fix. There are a lot of things we wanted to fix. But we didn't have to fix a lot of things. The only thing that was a must was the offensive line. Because we went into the offseason looking at Sam like, hey, are you the dude? Are you the guy? We looked at the cornerback position and said, hey, we got some stuff here. We probably need to add 1 or 2 guys to the secondary, but we feel confident about what we got if everybody's healthy. Linebacker was always a problem. It still is, and they seem to be oblivious about it. They don't care. I don't care. F it. I've already told you how I felt about linebacker. They don't care about the depth on this team at linebacker. If they're confident that, we're good with 4 or 5 dudes, all right, fine. That's what it is. They've already minimized the role of the linebacker in this defense anyway. So Okay, if you're cool with it, I'm cool with it. Not going to stress it. We know what the D-line is. We know what the wide receiver group is. We know what the running backs are. Tight ends fine. The only thing they really, truly had to fix, return game, offensive line. Not sure they fixed the return game, but they're going to have to figure some shit out. They might have got lucky with Kaz Allen. We'll see. But when it's all said and done, last year, I gave them grace because for the second year in a row, you know, you get ravaged at the same position. That's rare in this league, that you just get bit with the injury bug at the exact same position that you got bit at it the year prior, right? And we had some other injuries, and then, you know, some guys didn't work out, and, you know, all of those things happen. You know better, you do better. You know that the offensive line was a problem last year. You made a concerted effort to fix it, but did you do enough? We're going to find out. Let's hope that we don't even have to explore other options. Let's just hope that it's enough. But I did want to say that right now because I was thinking, it gets a little dangerous when I start thinking. I was thinking. Anyway, I wanted to serve up your daily dose. I had made mention of this during a video. I want to say it was Monday after the first day of minis, or the second day of minis. I think I had done this video on Tuesday. And I said, I witnessed some more disrespect that again, when it's about the team as a whole, that shit rolls off my back because we've earned a lot of the disrespect that's lobbed at us. We've earned it. Haven't won a playoff game since 2005. Haven't won more than 10 games since 1991. Haven't won back-to-back. You know, haven't had true winning seasons, not no 8-7-1 bullshit. Haven't had real, true back-to-back winning seasons. I mean, technically speaking, we did the 9-7, 8-7-1 shit in 15 and 16, but haven't had real winning seasons back-to-back since 91, 92. So, yeah, there's been a lot of ineptitude here in Washington. We've earned the disrespect. You know, a lot of y'all get bent out of shit. We earned that shit. What have we done to curtail any of it? We earned it. You know? We were the only team in the division not to make the playoffs last year. And we had every opportunity to do so. We had the Giants twice in a 3-week span in our crosshairs, and we let them off the hook not once, but twice. We let the lowly, disgusting, dirty, nasty Cleveland Browns come in here and mop us in our own building. Despicable. Every bit of disrespect that's lobbed at the team as a whole is deserved. We got to change the narrative. That's on us. What I won't stand for are the individual players that are out here killing this shit and not getting their praise and being overlooked. Anytime there's disrespect aimed at one of our core players that I think deserve respect, that's when I step in. That's when I get offended. When I jumped in on social media with LB kind of glossing over Terry like he's minced meat, that's when I step in. Like, nah, y'all not going to talk about 17 like he ain't that dude, because he's him. Then they get all in their feelings and then they want to bring up not making the playoffs. That ain't what we talking about. Stick to the script. We talking about our dude cooking your dude. Don't talk about what receivers that Darius Slay got to play against and then just conveniently gloss over Terry twice like he ain't been cooking his ass since 1972. Now I got to step in. And you ain't going to like what I got to say. So what I'm about to show you is your daily dose. If you're a Washington Commanders fan, you should be used to this by now. I call it your daily dose of disrespect. This is what we get. So what I'm about to show you is Exhibit A. I'm not going to say nothing to you. I want you to examine what I'm about to show you, and then I just want you to type it in the comment section. What is it that you're looking at? What is this a list of? Leave it in the comment section. So take a look at this. Take a gander at this. And I want you to tell me what you're looking at. I'll wait. right, so you've had enough time to analyze this graphic. You should know what this is. All right. Doesn't matter what publication, I'll tell you. Okay, here in a second. But you should be able to deduce what this is a list of. So start leaving it in the comment section. I'll see if this is you're a smart group. I know you. We've talked for long enough. I know you're very smart. You should be able to tell me what this is. So, Weldon says top 10 D linemen. Jamal says ranking of D line. Yep. Joe Rockhead says top 10 D line. Jay Willard says, I DM'd you on this one. This is where I got it from, Jay. I got it from you, right? So, you guys, as usual, are up to par. You get it. You're locked in. This is a list of the top 10 defensive linemen in the NFL per Sports Illustrated. All right. SI.com. Right. Peter King and company. You know, those guys. You know, I don't put too much stock into PFF and, you know, SI and none of that shit. I usually, that shit rolls off my back. I don't pay a lot of attention to that shit. You know, because, hey, we're the Washington Commanders. What have we done to garner respect, right? When you start omitting my guys, though, when you start omitting my guys as if they're not out here putting in work, now I got a problem. So a lot of you have already deduced that this is a list of the top 10 defensive linemen in the NFL right now. And look, this is a really good list. I don't have many qualms with this list. As a matter of fact, I look at this list 1 through 8 and I say, this is pretty accurate stuff. You know, I might have moved a guy or two around, but for the most part, this is pretty accurate. Got no problems with Max Crosby, 2 X's, right? Got no problems with Quentin Williams. He had 12 sacks last year. Got no problems with him. Got no problems with TJ Watt. He's one of the most destructive edge rushers in the league right now. He'd be higher on this list for me, as a matter of fact. You know how I feel about Chris Jones. Got no problems with Chris Jones. He's a one-man wrecking crew. When you think about the Chiefs defense, who's the one guy that you think about having to stop? Yeah, Chris Jones, and for good reason. Hey, Myles Garrett. We saw him up close and personal last year. He wrecked shop against us. He's a damn good edge rusher. He's everything we wanted Chase Young to be, and then some. And then you get to Micah Parsons. This is why LB, to me, is like delusional, because he takes 1 year of his boy, right? And he played well. He had a hell of a season. But what Micah Parsons has done in his first 2 years is ridiculous. Okay? Ridiculous. Hassan Reddick, good football player. He's not even in the stratosphere of a Micah Parsons. And I said that, and he was incredulous. And I'm like, this isn't even an argument I'm even willing to be passionate about, because it's not close. Micah Parsons is light years ahead of Hassan Reddick. He's number 3 on this list. Aaron Donald, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. You guys know what it is. And Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa tore his ACL, came back, and then tore up the league. Enough said. So I've gone through 1 through 8, which means I probably have an issue with 9 and 10. And I do. Now, both of these are good football players. Don't get me wrong, okay? All right. Dexter Lawrence, good football player. He's ascending, had a career year last year. All of that is really good. He's been really good throughout his career, but he finally put it all together last year. 7.5 sacks, 28 quarterback hits, all of that good stuff, dominated against the run. There are a lot of redeeming qualities with Dexter Lawrence. Is Dexter Lawrence better than either Jonathan Allen or Daron Payne? And the guy that I'm really lobbying for here is Daron Payne. Okay. And you can have it either way. I mean, one of those 2 guys should be on this list. Preferably for me, Daron Payne. But I go off. All right. Let's move on, right? Go off then. Well, then let me go off then. Shit. So Jeffrey Simmons is 9. Big Jeff Simmons, as my guy likes to say. And he's a damn good football player. And we saw him up close and personal last year. and he did work, right? However, I like Jeffrey Simmons a lot. I like him a lot. He's not better than the Bama Wall, okay? Specifically, Deron Payne. Now, so here's, for a lot of these people, they want to jump into these stats, and people get so ingrained in PFF. What did PFF say? Oh my God, he was ranked, the third best this, and he scored a 91 on PFF. PFF can kiss my ass, okay? I watched Dexter Lawrence last year. He was not a more dominant player than Deron Payne, week in and week out. And, if you want to talk consistency, which Jeffrey Simmons has probably been a more consistent player than Deron Payne throughout his career, in terms of impact. I got no problems with that. The guy that I'm really looking at, and I'm saying, because I'm not looking for both of these dudes to be replaced on the list with Washington Commander defensive tackles. I just want one of these two spots, okay? I'd like to see Deron at 9 and Jeffrey Simmons pushed back to 10, personally. And if you want to take Jeffrey Simmons off the list and insert Deron, fine. I don't care. But to me, Jeffrey Simmons deserves to be on this list. The guy that doesn't is Dexter Lawrence. And I know he was good last year. I know he was dominant last year. So was Deron Payne. Okay? Was Dexter Lawrence in the top 10 in sacks last year from the interior defensive line? Was Dexter Lawrence in the top 5 in the league in sacks last year? Because if I'm not mistaken, Deron Payne was. Oh my God, he was. He had 11 and a half sacks last year. It's good for tied for 4th in the league last year. Tackles for loss. That's a pretty good stat for a defensive lineman, right? Like, that shows impact, right? That shows that you're having an impact on the game. Because a lot of times people get caught up in numbers and, yeah, Dexter Lawrence can take on a double team. Yep, he does a lot of those, that's fine. It's great. Tackles for loss is another big stat for me on the defensive line because it shows you're playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You're disrupting shit. Was Dexter Lawrence in the top 10 in the league in tackles for loss? Was he in the top 5 in the league? Because our guy, Deron Payne, was in the top 10 in that category too. He didn't even have double-digit sacks last year. It's 7.5 sacks. That's a good number for a guy his size. Don't get me wrong. Then they want to bring up, well, he had 28 quarterback hits. That's a really good number. All right. I don't want to shit on that. Deron only had 20 quarterback hits last year. But you know what that means? Our guys getting there so goddamn fast that they don't have a chance to get rid of that. I think about the Vikings game and that first sack he got against Kirk Cousins, or the Giants game and the first Giants game, and the first sack he got against Daniel Jones. You know how quick he got there? And this wasn't, they forgot to block Deron. No, he beat the dude's ass in front of him so bad that before that quarterback got to their final step of their drop, he was already grabbing them and slinging them down. It was so effortless, he didn't even have to go to the ground with him. And that quarterback said, hey, I don't want the smoke, bro. Just don't slam me too hard. And Deron just took him and slung him on the ground. He did the shit to Kirk. He did the shit to Daniel Jones. And he did it multiple times throughout the season, where he just got to the quarterback so quick, they didn't even have a chance to get rid of it, run, nothing. So what that means is he finished. You know who else had 28 quarterback hits? Montez Sweat. How'd that work out for him? All right. So your quarterback hits, that's cool. That's not a bad stat. That's a good stat to look at. But it also means when you only convert 7 of those into sacks, also means you ain't doing a good enough job of getting the quarterback down with the ball still in his damn hand. You impacted some shit. Don't get me wrong. Bottom line is, Daron Payne should be on this goddamn list. And you know why he's not on this? And that's my bigger issue here. I don't want to make this too much about Dexter Lawrence or Jeffrey Simmons or SI or PFF or none of that. I don't want to make this something else that is not. This is the real issue at hand. And this is my point. This is what I want to get to. And so we can move on. Like, I don't want you diminishing Dexter Lawrence's season last year or Jeffrey Simmons. That's not what I'm looking for. Not what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm looking for. This team to be relevant. Let me go back to that list one more time. This team to be relevant. Here's why it matters. Look at all the names on this list. In the last 3 seasons, all of these teams have been relevant at one point or another. Right? Nick Bosa has been to the NFC Championship game, 2 times in the last 3 seasons. Been to a Super Bowl in his rookie season. Aaron Donald just won a Super Bowl, not last season, but the year before that. Micah Parsons, the Cowboys have been in the playoffs. They won 12 games each of the last 2 seasons. He spearheaded that. Myles Garrett, the Browns went to the playoffs, won a playoff game just 3 years ago, right? And he's super, like, you can't even if you wanted to, you can't ignore what he's done, right? He's so dominant. Chris Jones, what more can I say? I don't really need to say anything else about him and what the Chiefs are doing and their success. Steelers, they make it to the playoffs every year, or they're knocking on the damn door. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in his career. And I think the most telling stat for TJ Watt and the Steelers is when he plays, they're damn near unbeatable. All right. That's an exaggeration, but it just goes to show you they're so much better when he's in the lineup. They're very vulnerable when he's not. When he is in the lineup, they're tough to beat. That's the kind of impact that TJ Watt has single-handedly on the game. Quinnen Williams, Jets haven't won anything, haven't done anything of note, but they almost made the playoffs last year. But he's the one exception to this argument that I'm about to make. However, he was so dominant last year, you couldn't miss him. And that's how I feel about Daron Payne. Like, if you're putting Quinnen Williams on this list because of the season he just turned in with 12 sacks, then why isn't my guy with 11 and a half? And Quinnen Williams didn't have the tackles for loss like our guy did. If you're going to put Quinnen Williams at 7 on this list because he just had a 12-sack season and is looking for the bag, then why not put my guy that was behind him by a half a sack and was 3rd in the league in tackles for loss? Why is he not on this list? Help me. Seriously, help me. Help me. I'm lost. I don't know where I am. Max Crosby, 2 X's, double X, deserves to be on this list. Raiders made the playoffs 2 seasons ago. Not last year, but the year before that. Max Crosby, huge part of the success of the Raiders. And he's dominant. Then you got Jeffrey Simmons. Titans are in the playoffs every year. Didn't make it last year, had a collapse. But the Titans are a good football team every year. And so he gets recognition, right? And Dexter Lawrence, the Giants made the playoffs last year. So it's easy to see him having an impact on a team that made the playoffs, that won a playoff game. And you see him playing really well for a playoff team. And you go, damn, that Dexter Lawrence, man, he sure is one heck of a football player. Which leads me to my larger point. If you want to stop taking a daily dose of disrespect as a fan of the Washington Commanders, we got to start winning some damn football games. This shit is getting out of hand now. Now it's affecting our individual players who are putting up numbers, who are kicking ass and taking names and not getting respect for the shit that they're doing. They're not getting the credit for the performances that they're putting out in the atmosphere because we're not good. Daron Payne should be on that list. He should be at least one of these dudes, Daron Payne or Jonathan Allen, should be on any top 10 defensive lineman list that I don't give a shit who's making it. I don't give a shit who's making the list. One of them should be on the list. Hands down, bar none, no questions asked. My money's on Deron right now. He posted those numbers last year. He went 11 and a half sacks. He went 14 tackles for loss. He was the one that was absolutely dominant last year. He has no business being left off that list. But as always, when you don't I always look at it like this. You can play at an MVP level. They're not giving the MVP to a guy that plays on a losing team. They're just not going to do it. Calvin Johnson almost had 2,000 receiving yards in a single NFL season. You think they're going to give him the MVP and the Lions are like 4-12? Hell no. You can have all the accolades he wants. You play for a losing team, bro. You're not winning MVP. We'll show love, but there's only so much love we're going to show you. I don't want no damn honorable mention. They didn't even give him that. There was no honorable mention. They just gave me 10 names. And one of the names wasn't Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen. I got a problem with that. Because again, we don't have a lot of dudes that are out here doing shit at a high enough level that they should be in high standards and regards in league circles. We don't have a lot of those dudes. So the ones that we do have, I'm going to bat for them every single time. Because you're going to put respect on their name. You might not respect the entire Washington Commanders organization or football team or coaching staff or quarterback position or this or that, but you will respect John Allen and Deron Payne and Terry McLaurin because they've earned that respect. Respect is not something that is given. It is earned. And those boys have earned it. Despite the dysfunction, despite all of the shit that they've gone through here in Washington, those boys have balled out irregardless of the circumstances. Not a lot of people can say that they flourished in less than ideal circumstances. It's hard to thrive amongst dysfunction. They changed the defensive line coach 2 weeks into training camp. Who does that? Who raised you? As a wise man once asked me, who raised you? They changed defensive line coaches 2 weeks into training camp, and this man goes out and gets 11 and a half sacks and 14 tackles for loss and goes out and gets the bag and has a career year and makes the Pro Bowl. Let me ask you something. Why is Dexter Lawrence an All-Pro this year? Why is Jeffrey Simmons a two-time All-Pro and Deron Payne's not a single All-Pro? I can answer that question for you. You want to know why he hasn't gotten the recognition? Why Dexter Lawrence is not that much better than Deron Payne, where he deserves to be an All-Pro, and our guy just is a Pro Bowl. Make it make sense. 7.5 sacks, that's cool. 28 quarterback hits, that's cool. Our guy, again, 11 and a half sacks, 14 tackles for loss. Again, both in the top 10. Dexter Lawrence nowhere close in either one of those categories. 20 hits on the quarterback for Deron Payne, 28 for Dexter Lawrence. That's a big gap. But 20 is plenty, especially when you convert 11 and a half of them into sacks. 20 is plenty. And our guy's not an All-Pro, but Dexter Lawrence is. Make it make sense. I just want clarity. I know why. I know why we get in the cold shoulder. It's because we suck ass every year. It's easy to overlook what Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen is doing because they play for the Washington Commanders. It's easy to overlook that franchise and their players. This ain't got shit to do with Daniel Snyder. F him. This has everything to do with us being a downtrodden franchise that don't win shit. It's easy to gloss over what Terry's doing. I was watching something with Mike Evans like 2 weeks ago. And he was asked, who's the most underrated receiver? Because to me, Mike Evans is the most underrated receiver in the NFL. But he couldn't name himself. Without hesitation, before the person even finished asking him the question, he said Terry McLaurin. Those who know, know. You know why he doesn't get the respect around the league? Plays for the goddamn Commanders. That's why. Don't worry about the fact that this man's caught passes from 55 different quarterbacks. Nah, don't pay attention to that. Focus in on the fact that it doesn't matter who is throwing him the ball, he's still making plays. But we still got to fight for respect for this man because he plays for a damn team that don't win shit. I'm sick of that, man. I really feel like we starting to have players that deserve credit. And if we want these players to get the credit that they deserve, we got to start winning some shit, man. Individual accolades are cool, but until we win as a team, the individuals won't get the accolades that they deserve. You want to know why? You look at a Pro Bowl list and the team that's 13-4 has 8 Pro Bowlers because they won 13 goddamn games. That's why. You think Dallas has all these talented players that we can't compete? No. But they won 12 games, so they must be good. So, hey, let's make sure that they got 6 dudes at the Pro Bowl. Let's make sure 3 of those dudes are all pros, by the way. Like, come on, man. You telling me Tressway hasn't been an all-pro punter in his career yet? Like, seriously, like, let's keep it a buck. Tressway hasn't been an all-pro punter, not once. We've sucked enough for him to kick the ball a whole hell of a lot, and he hasn't been good enough one time to be an all-pro. And there's been some really good punters, man. Like, I don't want to take anything away from Michael Dixon in Seattle or some of these dudes that's kicking the shit out of the football. Because there's some dudes that they flip field position and they just as good as our guy, all right? But there was some seasons in there, some real down seasons where Tress was like the only, like 2019, man, we was making a whole campaign for Tressway. You trying to tell me out of all these years where we sucked at, and we've been pretty bad on offense, so we've been seeing a lot of Tressway. And last year was different because Tress was asked to punt a lot of times with not a lot of field in front of him. It was a lot of times, I told you, the vortex from 40 to 40. There was a lot of times we'll be at the opposing team's 42-yard line, and now we asking Tress, hey, man, like, I know you can't put your entire leg into this, but don't kick this bitch in the end zone. And so now you put this restriction on him, and you ask, hey, it'd be nice if you could kill this at the 2. And Tress is like, you just said don't put it in the end zone, bro. I mean, I'm at midfield. You asking me to punt the football, bro. Like, I can give you a fair catch at the 8. That's the best I can do, right? Like, that kills your average as a punter. We asked him to do that a lot. But in 19, when our offense sucked at, when we went a whole month without scoring a touchdown, and Tressway was the best damn player we had, you telling me he wasn't good enough to be an all-pro in 19 or 20? No, I'm telling you that we sucked ass. And we won the division. We were 7-9, and we were a joke. Our division was a joke. We didn't get no respect, nor should we have gotten respect for winning the division at 7-9. In my mind, it counts because we won a division. We were the best of the worst. But we were 7-9, bro. I'm not bragging to anybody about 2020 winning the division. All that does is keep you off of a list of longest droughts for winning the division. At least we got one in there, right? But come on, man. Let's keep it a buck. Tressway should have been an all-pro by now. Terry McLaurin should have been to the Pro Bowl more than once or twice. But again, there are a lot of good receivers in the NFC. I'm not tripping. But you telling me Tressway couldn't have been an all-pro? You telling me that Deron Payne wasn't an all-pro defensive lineman in the NFC last year? Give me a break. I'm not buying that shit. Dexter Lawrence was better than Deron Payne? Yeah, okay. All right. I got an issue with that. So all that says to me is the Giants made it to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. Dexter Lawrence was on a good football team. Hey, let's give him the nod. Now, don't get that shit to Deron Payne. They suck. Give it to Dexter Lawrence. That's what that looks like to me, if we being honest. And again, not to shit on Dexter Lawrence. He's a damn good football player. We've established that already. We watched him play against us twice last year. He's good. Okay? This isn't to demean him. It's to uplift our guy. But again, the larger point here, and I don't want to move away from what the larger point is. You want to stop the daily dose of disrespect that we receive as fans. Every day there's new disrespect. It's a daily dose. Every single day. Get you a little tablet. It's a D on it, right? That D stands for disrespect. You just put that shit under your tongue and it'll dissolve, right? You should be used to it by now. I'm sick of the shit. I know you got to be sick of it. But it's only going to change if we change the narrative. And the only way, individually, these guys aren't going to be able to change it by themselves. Montez Sweat can have 15 sacks this year. Deron Payne can do exactly what he did last year again this year. Chase Young could come and show everybody why he's the number 2 overall pick. All this shit can happen on our defensive line. If we go 8-1 again, everybody be like, oh man, that defensive line is pretty good. I bet you we won't have no all pros on it. We'll have some Pro Bowlers, but that's it. They make that same list next year, they won't be on it. Maybe Deron, if he does it again. Then you have to take notice at that point. But you just took notice of Quentin Williams after having a massive. This is the first year Dexter Lawrence showed up like that. He hasn't been dominant like this his entire career. 7.5 sacks is a career high for him. Just like 11.5 was a career high for Deron. 5 was his previous high. So that's a massive leap. That's not good enough to get him on a top 10. That's not good enough to get him all-pro accolades. To be top 10 in sacks and tackles for loss isn't good enough to get you in a discussion for all-pro. Make it make sense. I already know what it is. Anyway, I digress. I just thought that was really disrespectful. But Adam Rank having us go 5-12, that shit rolls right off my back. We deserve that. We got to change the narrative. So, anyway. All right, let's get to the comment section so I can get y'all out of here. Ain't gonna talk y'all to death. Start the night off with Ethan Dykes. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. E writes, Lou, what's up, E? Writes, just wanted to say I got my master's from ODU, man. Congratulations, everybody. Clap it up for Ethan. Our guy, E, completing the master's program at ODU. Monarch. He's a fellow Monarch. All right. Says that on top of Dan selling the team, life is pretty great right now. Man, blessings on top of blessings, man. Congratulations, bro. You work hard for that, and I'm glad you're reaping the benefits of that. Now make something of that master's degree. All right. Put that shit to use. Plan on re-upping my mob membership when the season starts. Salute, man. I appreciate you as always, man. Congrats again on the accomplishment. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Door Gunner, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Mob, y'all know what it is. We in the building. Stand up. Right? Tutty is for the kids. Cold-blooded, Lou. LOL. I can't stand Tutty, man. He is one of the worst mascots I've ever seen in my life. And he's almost scary looking, too. If I was a kid, I wouldn't be running towards Tutty. I'd be running from him. But, like, mascots are supposed to be fun and playful, but you know, at the same time, they're supposed to be a little scary looking. Our guys, you know, he's weird looking, you know, he's really weird. I got a problem with him. I don't give a shit that he's for the kids. I don't care. I want him gone. Come up with something else. But you know, it's funny because I've heard so many people say it's for the kids. And then you see these grown-ass men standing posing for pictures with his ass. I don't want to hear that shit. 60-year-old men, 40-year-old men be posing with Tutty, man. It ain't just 8-year-olds out here smiling for the camera. So don't tell me it's just Tutty's for the kids, man. Because he ain't just for the damn kids. Anyway, I digress. Ethan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy E writes, and it looks like a damn Halloween movie outside. It's really spooky out there, man. Like the shit you see in a movie. I'm telling you, it looks like a scene straight out of Scooby-Doo circa 1978 when they searching for one of these villains, right? It's especially in the morning, man. But again, you know, it's funny. My guy, Mr. Ron B. Shout out to the OG, triple OG, Mr. Ron B. Apparently he lives in Cali. I did not know that. And he's like, bro, now you see what we go through. Like, the people in California have no sympathy for us at all whatsoever. They're like, man, that little bit of ass smoke y'all got, man, y'all better stop complaining. We deal with this shit all the damn time. Now y'all getting a little dose of what we got to deal with on a regular. So, now, touche. I don't want any of the smoke. Literally, I don't want any of the smoke, Mr. Ron B. Figuratively or literally, I don't want the smoke. So, yeah, it's been rough, man. We out here complaining, but they've gotten it a lot worse. And people up north, you know, Jersey, New York, and, you know, going up that way, it's even worse for them. So, you know, our little mild stuff that we're getting, I'm not going to complain too much about it, but, you know, it definitely is there's a difference in the air quality for sure. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. E writes, I think I hear Jason Voorhees in the distance. I never really did figure out what the hell that noise was all about. You know, they would always play those noises when Jason was on the prowl in Friday the 13th back in the day. I never really did understand what that noise was about. Like, because Jason don't make any noises. But anyway, I digress. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy Chris, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Chris writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the fam. Likewise, Chris. Likewise. Writes, how much of Bieniemy's offense do you believe will be quick passing game to help protect the offensive line and get the ball out of Howell's hands? I think there'll be a considerable amount of that. I think that's a great question because we talked a lot about the screen game. I brought this up yesterday. Ron talked about it again today. This is something that there's been an emphasis put on the screen game. We've heard players talk about it. Coaches have talked about it several times. I've heard reporters talking about, players talking about it more. They're asking Ron about it more. There's real validity to this screen game thing that we're hearing about. And so I do think, and the Chiefs are one of the most heavy running back screen teams in the NFL. So I do believe that there's going to be an emphasis put on the screen game. So that's a part of the quick passing game. But remember, you know, EB's already said that this is a West Coast passing attack. This offense is a West Coast-based offense, meaning that the short passing game is an extension of the run game at times. And so with that said, you would think a lot of slants, you know, a lot of hitches, you know, a lot of the ball coming out very quickly, speed outs. You know, first down, instead of running it, it's a 4-yard completion on a quick out, you know, on a speed cut, you know, and that's your 4-yard gain. Instead of handing it off and maybe getting 4, you throw it and get 4, right? They're playing often soft, giving you a 7-yard cushion. You run up, you stop right in front of that corner who's backpedaling, you know, to 11 yards, and you stop 5 yards short. And on first down, you catch a 5-yard hitch. Maybe make a guy miss, and now it's an 8-yard gain on first down. I think there's going to be a substantial amount of that. Now, don't get it twisted. There's also going to be a considerable amount of drop back and letting it rip down the field, as we saw with the Chiefs, you know, over the last 5 years with Bieniemy, you know, in the saddle there as the offensive coordinator and what they were doing with Patrick Mahomes and things of that nature. So I think there's going to be a balance. I do think that there will be more short passes, and that's going to be good for Sam. It's going to be good for the offensive line. It's going to be good, you know, for this offense in general, you know, to keep the opposing defense on its heels, off balance, and, you know, hopefully open up some opportunities for everyone, the running backs, soften up the defense a bit, some opportunities to take shots down the field. You start to try to protect against the short passes. You bring your defense up, you relax a bit, and boom, you get one behind you. So I'm hoping that, this emphasis that they're putting on the quick game that we expect to see, the screen game, the quick game, I think we're going to see a considerable amount of it. I hope that it helps us open up explosives, because we've seen our fair share of long, drives, 13 plays, 15 plays. God forbid we ever see another drive like that hideous 20-play drive against the Browns, where we scored the lone touchdown that we scored in the game. With the 1 yard quarterback sneak where Wentz has to use his entire 5 frame to stretch the ball over the goal line. What a terrible drive that was. 20 plays, right? Let's hope that we don't have to endure too many of those, right? That there's some explosives that cut these drives short, get us into the end zone. But I do think we're gonna see a considerable amount of quick game, which will take some pressure off of the offensive line, and hopefully Sam Howell as well. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Rob, writes, what up, Lou? What's going on, Rob? Always good to chop it up with you. Writes, great content as always. I appreciate that, Rob. Thank you so much for the support. Smitty Fresh, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show Smitty Fresh some love. You're not fully clean unless you're Smitty fully clean. All right. So our guy Smitty Fresh is in the building. Welcome to the squad, Smitty Fresh. Looking forward to chopping it up with you. Mob, we got a new member. Make him feel welcome. Welcome to the squad, Smitty Fresh. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy Chris, double up, thank you for doubling it up. Writes, hey Lou, 2 questions. What do you think are reasonable expectations for Brian Robinson in year 2? And what are 2 big changes that you would implement to maximize the talent on defense this year? Those, again, 2 great questions. I've already told you with Brian Robinson, I expect him to be outstanding this year. And he's already set a standard for himself. He's already said he expects to rush for 1,000 yards this year, which in a 17-game season isn't really saying much, but that's a good goal to set for any running back. Hit that 1,000-yard threshold, cross that mark. And he didn't do it last year, and he was disappointed. And I'm like, bro, you missed the first 4 games of the season. You got shot in your leg. Like, it was a miracle you even came back and played football at the level that you play today. And he didn't want to hear none of that shit. He was like, yeah, I was disappointed with myself last year. And, some of it was out of his control, obviously. But like I said, y'all, I don't think y'all understand how talented Brian Robinson is. Y'all gonna get I know y'all saw the one-handed catch in practice. He had, Sam threw it out there. It was a really good throw by Sam, leading him up the field. And he goes out and he stretches out one arm and catches the ball. He's more than just this physical downhill thumper. A lot of us, likened him, not us, a lot of y'all likened him to Peyton Barber, right? Like, he's just going to be this physical guy that we can bring in short yardage situation. He's way more than that. And I told you, I watched a lot of his film this offseason, indirectly watching players that were being drafted into the NFL. And I said, damn, man, that Brian Robinson boy, he's a lot more dynamic and explosive than we gave him credit for coming out of Bama. And I'm telling you, there's another dimension to his game that you're going to be exposed to this year. If he's healthy, look out for Brian Robinson. I'm expecting big things from him this year, and not just as a runner. I think he's going to be a little bit, more of the passing game. I think he's really going to be a big part of that too. So I expect big things from Brian Robinson as far as maximizing. And so expectations, I think he's going to eclipse 200 yards receiving, and I think he's going to eclipse 1,100 yards rushing. I truly believe he's going to be. And with all the guys that we have and all the other dudes that need it, if we're scoring points and we're getting on top of folks and we get into that 4-minute offense in the fourth quarter, they're going to feed him. They're going to feed him. So I'm hoping that we get to a point, because, the frustrating part about last year, in years prior to last year, was there weren't many games. Like the Jags game was so refreshing because what did we have? Like 70, 80 some odd offensive snaps. We don't do that. That's for the elite teams in the league. We don't have 80 offensive snaps in a lot of games. We're normally in the 50s somewhere because we're not sustaining offense, and you're not ahead late in the game. So you're not able to hold on to the ball and rush it. And we were winning time of possession, especially when we were on those winning streaks. We were killing time of possession, but time of possession doesn't always equal a bunch of snaps offensively. We're killing the clock. So there's not a lot of snaps. But we had to do that to win. We weren't dynamic enough to extend the game by having more snaps. We wanted less snaps. When you're less talented, you don't want more plays. You want less plays. That's in any sport. Basketball, football, baseball. You don't want more pitches if you're not the better team. You want less pitches. You don't want more shots. You want less shots if you're the less talented team. Same thing in football. You don't want more snaps in the game. You want less snaps. You want to shorten the game. So if we're a much better football team, if we're scoring points, we want more offensive snaps. And I think that translates into more touches for the running backs, more opportunities for guys like Terry and Jahan and Curtis and the tight ends. And I think everybody's able to eat if the defense is playing good ball. Because last year, even though we weren't getting turnovers, the defense was getting off the field on third downs. Every week I would, after the game was over, I'd tell you, well, held the other team to 4-13 on third downs again. Defenses. I remember early in the season, I'm like, we can't keep this shit up. Like, we can't possibly be this good on third down. We were the worst third down defense the year before. Like, we can't be this good on third downs. And we were the entire year. The entire year, we were great getting off the field on third downs. We just didn't generate turnovers. Even if they do that again and they don't create turnovers, which I don't see happening this year, because they made a point of emphasis to go out and get guys that seek turnovers. And turnovers are a mentality. And we didn't have it. Now we have guys that bring that mentality. Even with that said, if we just go out and do the thing that we did last year, which is get off the field on third downs, if we have this potent offense that we think we have a chance to have, it changes everything. So I think you're going to see more of Brian Robinson. But you asked about the defense and what I would do to try to, help this defense. What are two big changes that I would make? First of all, I would move around the guys on the defensive line, specifically Sweat and Young. Like, it wouldn't just be this, you line up at left defensive end, you line up at right defensive end. And if we want to get freaky, we'll switch, right? I'm moving these dudes all around. The beauty of Myles Garrett is you don't know where he's going to line up. He'll be at the 3 tech. He'll be at the 0. I've seen him line up at the 1. I've seen TJ Watt and guys like Nick Bosa standing up at middle linebacker, walking around and rush. Like, you got to get creative. I'm not saying you got to do that shit all the time, right? But I'd move these, like, at some point, Tez and Sweat are rushing from the same side with Daron Payne. Like, you can't double them. They're getting one-on-ones. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to win. You just got to get creative, man. Put stress on the offense. Make them have to adjust to what we're doing. So that's one thing I would do. I would move around the defensive linemen, And another thing I would do is I would have more specific packages. And they do have certain packages and looks that they go to for certain, situations. But I would have, damn the situation, I would just have packages for certain players. There would be a Khaleke Hudson package. If I want, like, don't feed me this bullshit about, it's a numbers game and this. If you want to get a guy on the field, you can get a guy on the field. Khaleke Hudson has a unique skill set. Utilize it. He's an excellent blitzer. He's excellent around the line of scrimmage. Utilize that. Okay? I'd have a Khaleke Hudson package. I'd have a package where, I'm taking one of the defensive tackles off the field. Whichever one you don't, and you can rotate. One of these times in this package, it's John Allen. One of the times, it's Durant. Whichever one's fresher. They're both so dynamic that you don't really have to choose one. Whoever's fresher at that time, keep them out there. But you want to have this package where you're putting your best edge rushers on the field. I'd have a package where it's KJ Henry, Sweat, Young, and I throw in one of those other guys, Allen or Payne, right? And if you wanted to give them a bit of a blow, you could put in James Smith-Williams if you wanted in that package. Doesn't make me one bit of difference. If you find out one of these dudes is good at rushing the quarterback from the linebacker position like Khaleke Hudson, you could even have him in if you want. That was one of those times like Shaka should be in there, right? Have a package for Shaka Toney. The Seahawks used to have that NASCAR package where they would put 4 pure pass rushers on the field. Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill. All those guys would be on the field, and they would throw in, a couple of other guys that were dynamic, and they would all be on the field at the same time. I would love to see them do something like that. I'm not saying that I've been a proponent of blitzing more. You got to trust your back end in order to blitz more. You got to be able to play man to man. We really haven't been able to do that. So I don't blame Jack for not blitzing more. When he's brought pressure like he did against Minnesota, and he left Juice out there on an island one-on-one against Justin Jefferson. He got cooked for a 41-yarder, right? It was a great throw by Kirk. It had to be because he was beaten, but he wasn't beaten at, to the point where any throw would have gotten it done, but he got beat, right? And so that changes the way you approach things. I'm not saying we need to blitz more. I think we need to be more selective when we decide to blitz. Like, I think there are certain situations, certain quarterbacks that I feel like Daniel Jones is one of them. Get after his ass. Make him prove to you that he can beat the blitz. Like, come after his monkey ass, right? Because when we blitzed him, he didn't do shit. So there's certain times where I would be a little bit more aggressive, but me specifically, I would move the defensive linemen around, shuffle them around where they are on the field more often, and I would also have packages for specific players to get guys on the field, because I think there are some talented players that you can do some things with. So those are the 2 things that I would do. 1/6 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, they see Gates and Ricky as possible guards. To your point, yes, those guys can play guard. I know in the case of Gates, they've seen him play guard. They know he's capable of playing guard. Ricky is more of a center. He's a pure center. He can play guard in a pinch, but they want Ricky Stromberg to be a center. But to your point, both of those guys can play center. I'm not a big fan of, weakening one position to like put a Band-Aid on another. Like, and again, Ricky Stromberg could come in and be just as good as Nick Gates at center, and then you're not losing anything at center. But that was always my problem with moving like a guy like Wes Schweitzer from guard to center, is you're weakening 2 positions when you do that. In the effort to not let one go to hell in a handbasket, you're weakening 2, right? Because Wes Schweitzer's a better guard than he is a center. He's proven that over the life of his career, especially in Washington. It's a better guard than he is a center. But then you have issues at center. Now Wes has got to kick inside to center, and now you're not getting great center play, and you're losing, the play you were getting out of Wes at guard with the lesser guard. Like, do you want to do that? You have an injury to a guard. Do you want to take Nick Gates, who's playing really well, at center, and say, all right, well, Ricky Stromberg can give us similar play, and move him over to Ricky's a rookie. Keep in mind, do you want to bring him in, take Nick Gates away from what he's doing, and, now all of a sudden 2 positions have gotten weaker? I don't know. But to your point, and I think that's a great point, one that I did not consider, but those guys have position flex. That's all they talk about all the goddamn time. Position flex, position flex, position flex. This is why. And so theoretically, that's why they have all these centers, is because if they have to make a move at guard, they feel comfortable about moving a guy off the bench into the center role and moving Nick Gates over to guard. That is a great point. That actually does make me feel slightly better about that. Good point. 1-6 double dot. Thank you for the super chat. See, this is why I bring shit to y'all. Sometimes I don't think about everything. 1-6 double dot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy 1-6 double dot writes, think we made the right pick with Forbes over Gonzalez. Only time will tell. I mean, I told you, I think he's going to be really good for the New England Patriots. He landed in the perfect spot. One thing about Bill Belichick, he knows how to coach up some damn DBs. So if Gonzalez is as talented as we think he is, Belichick's going to get the most out of him. If he's not, then he'll flounder in New England. But if he's the talent that we think he is, he'll thrive in New England. Oh, trust me. But that doesn't mean we made a poor decision. Both things can be true. Forbes can be outstanding for us, and Gonzalez can be outstanding for the Patriots. It can be a win-win for both teams. Because it's not a guarantee that Gonzalez would have been great for us, right? But Forbes is what we needed for the time, for right now, he was what we needed. We need turnovers. And we'll see if he's more than just a walking interception. We'll see what else he brings to the table. But we'll see. Time will tell if we made the right decision or not. I can't tell you that enough, though. I really like him. And clearly, they loved him in that building. We still haven't really talked about – I'm gonna do a video on that. We still haven't really talked about the Commander's log from last week. Matter of fact, I wonder if they put out one today. It is Thursday. They do drop every Thursday when they do them. And they teased another one. So that usually when they tease the next episode on the last episode, that usually means it's going to be out the following week. So I'll be sure to check that out. I'll go and check out and see if they dropped a new Commander's log tonight rather. Because they showed us like the other guys that got drafted, Quan Martin and those day 2 guys. So if they did drop a another episode, what episode are we on? Like 5? If they did drop episode 5 of the Commander's log, then I'm going to do a video kind of talking about both of them. Because there's still some things from the 4th episode that I wanted to talk about that I never really had a chance to discuss with you guys. So a lot of it had to do with Forbes. Last episode was pretty much all Emmanuel Forbes and how much they loved him inside that building. They were convinced they got it right. So I hope they're right. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Starface writes, people complain about Jack's off coverage, but fail to realize that if it works, if our D line gets home, off coverage helps the secondary be in position for INTs. Off coverage is cool, except for on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, and you're playing 7 yards off. That's when people get upset. All right. I don't have a problem with off coverage. You can't play bump and run or press and bail every single snap. All right. That's exhausting. It's tough. It wears on you. It takes you out of position for things at times. So there's a rhyme and reason for everything. But I will never understand, and there's nothing you can ever say to me to make me understand, being off 7 yards on 3rd and 3. That just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Sorry, not sorry. I don't see the benefit of that, because to me, you're setting yourself up for a double move, because if you're playing 7 yards off and you're reacting to a slant, you got to stick. You don't have time to backpedal and wait and see what happens. It's 3rd and 3. You got to react immediately. And at first move, you got to stick your foot in the ground and react. And if you do that, you prime for a sluggo. You prime for a sluggo. I'm doubling you up. Double up. I'm doubling your ass up. You're going to play that far off. Why go for the 3 yards in the first down when I can go for 33 in a touchdown? You giving it to me? I'll never understand that. But I'm not complaining about playing 7 yards off on 2nd and 7. Hell, even 2nd and 3, I'm not complaining about it. You want a 5-yard completion on 2nd and 3? Have at it. I complain about it on 3rd down because we got a chance to get off the field. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But, you know, off coverage serves a purpose. It definitely serves a purpose. Humble King, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Humble King writes, PSA, hit the like button. Y'all heard the man. Public service announcement brought to you by Humble King. If you ain't humble, you ain't a king. Humble King says, hit the like button. Don't cost you a thing, and it helps this channel grow exponentially. Over 320 of you out there, only 100 and some odd likes. Hit the like button. Thank you for the PSA, Humble King. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, why don't you respect Reddick? He's number 1 if he's on Washington Commanders roster. Did I say anything about not respect? See, this is the problem with Eagles fans that I have. Y'all don't listen. You don't listen. Take the wax out of your ears, okay? And stop being in your feelings. Did I say Hassan Reddick is trash? Did I say that? He's not better, okay? Not better, not even close, okay, to the edge rusher in Dallas. Period. That's all I've ever said. He's not Micah Parsons. That's what I said. If that's offensive to you, deal with it. If I called the man trash, now you got a reason to be upset. I didn't call him trash. He had an outstanding year last year. That doesn't make him better than Micah Parsons. Okay? That's the point I'm trying to make. That's not even a conversation I'm willing to have. So if you want to be in your feelings about that, go right ahead. But I'm not entertaining that conversation because it's not a conversation to me. If I said something out of pocket, by all means, please come at me, bro. But I didn't. I didn't call him garbage. He was outstanding last year. And he's putting together a damn good resume. He was outstanding for the Panthers a couple of years ago. He was outstanding last year. He's playing some damn good football. What's the problem? I'm confused. Where's the problem? Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, off topic for a sec. Messi joining MLS may be the biggest thing to ever happen for American soccer. I don't even care about soccer, but even I got to acknowledge the magnitude of the GOAT coming here. There's got to be something behind the scenes with that. He didn't just come here just to come here. I heard he was running from Ronaldinho. I don't know. I don't, or Ronaldo. See, this is what happens when I start talking about shit I don't know nothing about. Start messing up names because, all these soccer dudes got one name. Ronaldo and Ronaldinho are two different dudes, right? Like that's they're two different dudes, right? I'm not tripping, right? This is why I stay in my lane, okay? And shame on you for trying to make me swerve out of my damn lane. All right. Anyway, I feel like there's something up there, but there's no here nor there. Messi, I just noticed he's been real messy in his career. See what I did there? Anyway, I don't give two shits about soccer, and I'm not gonna pretend that I do. So, I could walk right past Lionel Messi on the street, and I wouldn't even know who the hell I just walked by. Sorry, not sorry. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, Lou, I have to rant. Uh-oh. When JP's got a rant, it can get really spicy. Says, I hate that our players get no love or respect from these stupid puppets on ESPN, but they constantly have to cover the Cowboys 24/7, even though they haven't won jack shit for 25 years. I always laugh about that with Law, right? Because even he acknowledges the shit is out of line. It's out of line, right? It's just way out of bounds. The fact that they invent things that, like, it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. God forbid it's football season. The first hour is about Dallas. Win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter. Turn on any of these shows. First Take, Skip and Shannon, which I don't think that exists anymore, but whatever. They'll find some other guy to sit across from Skip, and they'll keep that party going. Excuse me, because you guys continue to watch him for whatever reason. I still can't put my finger on it, but tune into the first hour of any of those shows. I guarantee they're going to be talking about Dallas. And then leave for an hour or two and come back, and they're probably talking about Dallas again. Shit is sickening, right? They'll make up shit to talk about Dallas, but it doesn't bother me because I don't watch. The only reason I even know what I'm telling you right now is because when I'm in the gym, they talk, the shit's on. I can't run from it. I'm not running from it. It's on. I look up at the TV, they're talking about Dallas. I go get a set in, I come back, they still talking about Dallas. I leave, they talk about something else. I'm like, oh, they talking about something different. I look back up, they talking about Dallas. I said, shit. You took one commercial break and you came back and you start talking about Dallas again. It's crazy. But I don't get bent out of shape because it's Dallas. So it's what comes with the territory, which is why I made the statement some years ago and people got upset about it. And I said, prove me wrong. The most lucrative position in all of sports is being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. If you're good in any capacity and you're the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you have the potential to earn off the field in ways you can't even imagine. And I understand that star basketball players and star baseball players are killing it on the court. And a lot of those big time basketball players in particular are killing it off the court as well, with shoe deals and endorsements. You know, a lot of times, like KD and, for instance, LeBron, their shoe deals exceed any contract that they signed to actually play basketball. You know, their contracts in the NBA, they could take less if they want to. LeBron doesn't want to, you know, because he wants to own a franchise at some point. So he's trying to make every single dime he can. But KD's taking less because he's making so much money off the court. Steph Curry, same thing. He can take less. He has taken less because he's killing it with his shoe deal with Under Armour. Like, these guys sign these crazy deals off the court, right? So that's great, right? But while those are team sports, those guys are individuals, right? They can take over games. Football is the ultimate team sport because it's the only sport where one guy can't take over a game. Hockey, a goalie can take over a game, all right? His team might not be doing shit offensively, but if he don't give up shit, if he blocking everything, it ain't a damn thing you can do. Same thing in soccer. Goalie can take over a damn game. All right. You could be a magician with that rock, but if that dude blocking every goddamn thing, ain't shit you can do. Basketball, a dude can just say, watch out, I'm about to take over. I've seen players do that. They score the next 25 points. I've seen LeBron James do that. Right? Baseball, a pitcher, if he's dominant, good luck. Bless your heart. It's just, you don't stand a chance. If he's got it going, keeping the pitch count low, you have no idea. Is it a fastball? Is it off speed? Is it coming straight? Is the bottom going to drop out of it? Good luck. Football is the only sport. Your quarterback can be unconscious. He can be throwing darts. But if your defense is giving shit up, if his receivers are dropping the ball, if his offensive line doesn't block, doesn't matter how well he's playing. One guy doesn't do his job in the NFL, the whole play can go to shit that fast. One guy doesn't do his job. No other sport is that true. Because one guy can control the action. He can make up for the mistakes of others. So in the ultimate team sport, the one guy that has the chance to make the most money is the quarterback. And then you take it and you times it by 10 gajillion when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. What has Dak Prescott done? What has he won in this league? How many commercials does this guy have? Sleep Number bed, Oreo cookies, chunky soup. That's just to name a few. I'm pretty sure I'm missing 3 or 4 others that he has. What has he won? Tony Romo's still getting commercials. I saw a Skechers commercial the other day. I'm like, what the hell is Tony Romo doing with a Skechers commercial? It's because he played for the Dallas Cowboys. So it comes with the territory. I don't bitch and complain about that stuff. I already know what it is. It's why they're the best villains in the NFL. Like, New England took over that mantle for a while there, right? Nobody wanted to see the Patriots win shit. Brady's no longer there. No one's even worrying about the Patriots anymore. It's back to the Dallas Cowboys. They're the favorite team for everybody to hate. If you don't love them, then you hate them. And that's the way it should be. So I got no problems with that. I really don't. I'm more concerned. I always tell y'all, worry less about what everybody else is doing. Worry more about what we're doing. If we take care of business, we should be fine. That's always what I tell you. Now, I say that, and in the same breath, I am concerned about what the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants are doing. They are family members. All right? Keep your enemies, your friends close, and your enemies even closer. I am fully aware of what they have going on with their franchises as well. But at the end of the day, I'm more concerned with what Washington has going on. Because I think we're talented enough, whereas in the past, we needed help. This year, I really truly believe that if we just take care of ourselves, we do the things we need to do, we're good enough to win football games without help. You don't have to turn it over 3 times. We can beat you off the strength of us just being better than you. You play your best, we play our best, we're still better than you. We couldn't say that very often in the past 3 years. I think there's still going to be a lot of times where we can't say that, right? But I think we're going to be able to say that more times than not this year. Hey, you play your best, we play our best, we see what happens. You know, Buffalo, definitely, like, okay, they play their best, they're going to beat us, right? Philadelphia, they play their best, we play our best, they're probably going to beat us, right? But, you know, we don't need necessarily, like, Philly could play good, we could play better and beat them. Buffalo could play a really good game. We could play an even better game and beat them. We're capable of that. It's no longer, in order for us to beat a team like Buffalo, they got to come down to our level. No, we can elevate to theirs. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. He says, whoever decided to rank Lawrence and Simmons over Allen and Payne should have their football knowledge confiscated. Love listening to YouTubers like you with real football smarts spitting facts out here. Look, man, I'm not looking to demean either one of those dudes. I love Big Jeff Simmons. All right. And I think Dexter Lawrence is just hitting his stride, or Sexy Dexy, as they call him in New York. I think he's just hitting his stride. He had a fantastic season last year. He was good before last season. He just took it to another level last year. Like, I don't want you to, I don't want you to feel like I'm calling these dudes trash and they don't belong anywhere near the top 10 in the NFL. That's not what I'm insinuating at all. The bigger point was, if we want our individual stars to garner the respect and attention that they deserve, we need to win as a team. All the extra accolades will come. Was the point I was trying to make. But to your point, and I made this point, those two guys aren't better than Daron Payne in particular. And if you want to say the consistency of John Allen wins out, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Allen was spectacular last year in his own right, and has been one of the most consistent defensive tackles, not named Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and maybe, I don't even want to put Fletcher Cox in there, but Fletcher Cox, outside of those three in particular, Jonathan Allen's been, one of the most consistent defensive tackles in football. So I have no issues with him being on anybody's list, but one of them should be. None of them? Come on, man. Come on. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Red Wing 01 writes, I got to correct you on a couple of things. Tress made second team AP in Pro Bowl in 19. That makes sense. I just remember us not having, I remember us having a very vivid conversation. I couldn't remember when I was saying that in the moment. I thought to myself, did Tress make All Pro? I just remember us saying, we haven't had an All-Pro since Matt Turk, which was insane at the time. And, you know, Matt Turk, I think he was an All-Pro in like 1999, some shit like that, right? We hadn't had an All-Pro since Matt Turk. And I think I remember saying, coincidentally enough, we hadn't had an All-Pro since Matt Turk, a punter, and now we've got an All-Pro and it's a punter again. I do think I remember saying that. I'm not sure if I said that or not. I just remember Brandon Sheriff being an All-Pro a couple of years ago and having that breaking it. It felt like that broke a drought. But if Tress was, then I recant that statement because he was damn good in 2019. That's why I brought up 2019 in particular. We were awful on offense. I remember people saying Tress Way is our best player and it's not even close. And I couldn't disagree with them. Tress was kicking bombs that year. So I definitely, my mistake if he was an All-Pro in 2019. He says, and Megatron only had 5 touchdowns in that near 2K yard season, not exactly MVP numbers. And that's fine. The Lions sucked. The Lions were absolutely atrocious that year. So I'm not shocked that he didn't have, understand this. And I get it. 5 touchdowns isn't, like you said, exactly, MVP type statistics. Could you imagine going into a game every single week, being the focal point of what a defense was looking to stop, knowing that there was no other help? Your defense sucks ass. Knowing that there isn't another receiver or anybody, tight end, anybody to take any attention away from you. I'm going to guess that Matthew Stafford played most of that season. I'm going to say because he couldn't have gotten close to 2,000 yards without Matthew Stafford. Someone assumed at least Stafford was healthy that year. But there wasn't much else out there in Detroit. Every week they're gunning for this dude, especially when they get into the red zone, So if nothing else, I'm putting 3 dudes on Megatron. When they get inside the 15-yard line, hey, 3 eyes on 81. I don't give a shit if somebody else scores. He won't do it. You're damn right he only had 5 touchdowns. I'm shocked he had that many in a year where, he had some big catches, but it's hard to get over the top when, again, you're the focal point of the defense. They are looking for you specifically. So if anybody's getting over the top, it ain't 81. So even then, he's probably not going to have a bunch of 65 and 70-yard touchdown catches because that safety's cheating to his side, wherever the hell he is. So I get your point, but I can counter that by saying, do you understand how hard it is to go out and ball with, I don't want to say nobody, somebody had to be opposite of him, but that guy wasn't a legit threat. They knew 81 was getting a rock. And he still got damn near 2,000 yards receiving in a 16-game season, not a 17-game season like we have now, 16 games. He almost went for 2 racks. So again, I hear you, but that's still a hell of a feat. Knowing that every week teams are saying, hey, don't worry about nobody else but 81. And he still goes and gets, 9 catches for 181 yards. That's tough. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, by the way, your Braves came all the way back to walk off the Mets in the 10th. If this is in fact true, and I trust you, it will be the 3rd game in a row we've done that to them. They had us 4-1 in each of the first 2 games of that series. Where's my guy Twin D at? Twin D, you out there? He's probably not out there. I can't wait to see how we did it. But we've come back in each of the last 2 games against them. Ever since the Polar Bear told my young pitcher, Bryce Elder, throw it again, we've been kicking their ass. He hit a home run to put them up 4-1, and we've been kicking their ass ever since. And it's funny because as Braves fans, we own the Mets. Remember, they were leading the division by like 12 games last year. We spotted them like a 12-game lead, hawked them down. And then we had that big epic series at the end of the season, and we swept their ass and won the division. We own their asses. You know, it's just certain teams that own other teams. We own the Mets. They should call them the New York Braves. That's good stuff. Thanks for that update. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. Red Wing 01 writes, I hope EB really turns the screen game around. It was one of the worst parts of the offense last year. Can't wait till real camp begins. Me too. I can't wait till this real, tangible things for us to break down. You know, minicamp seems so trivial. There's no pads. There's no real, installation going on. You know, everything's kind of vanilla right now. They're not really doing anything. They're not in pads, as I mentioned. I can't wait. Bart Scott can't wait for training camp. But to your point, it was the worst part of the offense last year, by far and away. One game in particular sticks out like a sore thumb because I still struggle with how we manage. Who didn't think we were about to win against the Giants the first game when it was tied in overtime after Curtis Samuel breaks off that 20-whatever-yard run, 17-yard run, whatever it was? Put us in Giants territory at like the Giants 42-yard line or whatever. Who didn't think we were about to win the game? We all knew that Joey Sly had a big leg. Remember, he already bombed one against the Eagles from 54, 55, or 56 right before the half, whatever it was. We didn't need much. And Scott Turner's monkey ass gets conservative. We throw a stupid ass screen. We lose 4 yards. That to me is like the epitome of the screen game for us. It was that play. We ran it on first down. We lost like a yard. He got conservative, ran another screen. It hadn't worked earlier in the game either. He ran a screen. We lost like 4 yards. Now all of a sudden it's like 3rd and 15. I'm like, how did we get it? How did we get to the 47 and we started this set of downs at the 42? How did we move backwards 5 yards? Why are we not in field goal range right now? What is happening? This is unreal. We had all the momentum and we just pissed it away. Our screen game was so bad last year. So bad. It can't be any worse. I've already stressed this. Like, even if it's slightly better, it's better. Like, even if it's average, that's market improvement over last year's screen game. It was so bad. Gideon Wayne, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Gideon writes, what's up, bro? Love your channel as always. Hey, I appreciate you, Gideon, man. He says, I am hurt by the loss of Taylor Heineke. He had heart. How do you feel about it? I'm very upset. I'm not tripping over Heineke leaving. I feel the same way about Heineke that I do Ron. Thank you for your service. Heineke went from a relatively unknown journeyman quarterback who was essentially out of the league, 1 foot out of the door. And if that door ever slams shut and is locked, he's not getting back in. He had cups of tea with the Patriots, the Vikings, the Panthers. He was a journeyman and his career was pretty much over. And then Scott Turner gives him a call, brings him in here as an emergency. They brought him here to be the COVID quarterback. Keep this in mind. Like, he wasn't brought here to play. Everybody got scared shitless about what happened with the Broncos, where they had to put a receiver at quarterback for a game because everybody in the quarterback room got COVID and couldn't play. And so he was our COVID quarterback. And he came here, and Dwayne, pissed away all his last opportunity, got cut. Alex's leg wasn't holding up. And that was a miracle that he even gave us what he gave us, but his shit wasn't holding up. Kyle Allen got hurt. And all of a sudden, here's an opportunity for Taylor Heinicke. And not only does he take advantage, he seizes that opportunity against Tampa. I thought he played well in the quarter of football against Carolina, gave us a fighting chance in that game. Plays his ass off against Tampa, does the same thing in 2021. He had his limitations, and he was learning. And that first season was very frustrating because for as many limitations as he had, he used to press when things got tight and mistakes were made. They tell you all the time in the NFL, one of the cliches is don't make a bad play worse. Sometimes the defense just wins. They got a great play called. They got your number on that one. Don't make a bad play worse. And Heinicke would take a bad situation and he'd make it worse. He threw an interception. Now he wants to get that interception and the touchdown that the other team scored because of that interception all back in one throw, and he throws another pick. And now he compounds that by turning it over again. That was the New Orleans game. That was the Kansas City game. That was the Denver game. It was frustrating. Games that we should have won, we didn't win because he didn't get it done, right? So Green Bay game is another example of that, right? At the end of the day, he had a huge heart, or he has a huge heart, and he's never met a situation that he was scared of. He's going to go out there and give it his all. It may not be enough, but damn it, he's going to give you a chance. And I told y'all this last year. Give me Taylor Heinicke. Game on the line. Got to have it. I don't know how the hell I'm going to get it, but I need it. Give me 4. All right. He showed us that his first ever start in the regular season for this team against the Giants, he threw an egregious pick that should have cost us the game. If the Giants don't go conservative and settle for the field goal, they're going to beat us. They just need one first down and the game is over. Instead, they went conservative. They settled for the field goal. They gave Heinicke another shot, and a dot here, a dot there, and boom, we're in field goal range. And Dustin Hopkins tried to piss it away. Thank God for all-pro Dexter Lawrence. Well, we don't beat the Giants, but that was a sign of things to come, that he was going to be clutch. And we put him in a lot of those situations. And more times than not, he came up for us. The Falcons game, that same season, huge drive that throw to all the way across the field. He's running to his left. He stops. He plants. He looks all the way back to his right and finds J.D. McKissick. How the hell does he do that? McKissick runs down the sidelines, does this ridiculous surf on a defender into the end zone, touchdown. We win. I mean, he had at least 3 of those this past year, where how the hell did we find a way to pull that out? Even the clutch, situation against the Eagles late in that game where I don't want to punt the ball back to Philadelphia and give it back to Hurts in that offense. We were only up, at the time of that? Ooh, only up 5. I don't want to punt the ball back to them. It's 26-21. You kidding me? Him baiting Brandon Graham into a roughing the passer, that's clutch. That's as good as a game-winning throw. That iced the thing. That throw to Terry against Green Bay on that third down, I don't give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. You kidding me? That throw to Terry, for the first down. That's clutch. That's a game winner. That throw again, that drive. How many plays against Indy alone? Fourth down, he's scrambling around. He finds Curtis Samuel. He avoids a sack on another fourth down. Finds Curtis again. These are clutch plays. And then the Terry throw, it wasn't the best throw, but he gave him a chance. He was huge. He threw a back-breaking pick in that game, and he bounced back. Like, it's that kind of mentality. Yeah, I effed up, but give me another shot. I'll make it up to you. I wish he would have gotten the ball. He threw an egregious pick against Minnesota. But I guarantee, and I will take this to my grave, if we would have given him the damn football back down 3, they would have got their ass beat. If John Ridgway doesn't have that penalty, we're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Heineke's going to do their ass. I got no doubts. 0. Never got the shot. Like I said, I'll take Heineke, man, on my squad any day. I didn't want him to go, but if we're keeping it a buck, and people have pointed this out, and I don't disagree with them, if you wanted to give Sam Howell a fair shot, because of fans like yourself, and there's nothing wrong with you feeling the way that you feel, but because of fans like yourself who really believed in Heineke, if he's here and Sam struggles, you're going to be pressing the Heineke button. And we don't need that. So I think they understood that as well. And they wanted him back, and they offered him a deal, and the Falcons offered him more. He's making good money in Atlanta. I'm happy for him. But I'm not sad that he's gone. I'm happy that he made some real money. Smitty Fresh. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Once again, thank you for becoming the newest member of the MOBB, who writes, what do you expect from Cole Turner and KJ, the rookie? Cole Turner, I think he has a chance to definitively separate himself as TE2 and maybe even emerge as TE1, because a lot of people thought Logan could be a cap casualty this year. He could be one next year, if he doesn't step up. I personally don't see Logan getting cut. If he's healthy and he performs at a high level, he'll be here next year. He's not making a ton of money, right? So I don't see Logan, and he's a leader. He's a captain. They love him. He's still got some good football in him. Logan's got the type of game that ages well, because he was never fast to begin with. So he's not going to lose a step. Speed has never been his thing. His game should age gracefully. So if Logan Thomas is able to continue to stay healthy, he's the kind of guy that can play another 5-6 years in the league and be productive at the tight end position. Like Jason Witten, for instance, who, speed was never his thing. So as he got older, he didn't give a shit that he was getting older, because he was never fast anyway. But I feel like Cole Turner can separate himself as TE2 on this team. I really do expect him to take a quantum leap in year 2 if he can stay healthy. Obviously, that's the biggest if. He's got to stay healthy. As far as KJ Henry is concerned, he's intriguing, because assuming that they can't re-sign both edge rushers, and they can't, but that doesn't mean both of them can't be back next year. One can be on a long-term deal. The other could be on a franchise tag. I mean, this does not have to be the last year of Chase and Montez. It's probably the last year of them being on actual contracts, right? Together. But does it have to be the last year that they're here together? Could be Montez gets to the bag, Chase plays well enough that they want to see it again, and they franchise tag him. And you say, well, damn, that's still a lot of money invested in the defensive line. You're already paying Jonathan Allen, you're paying Daron Payne, you're paying Montez Sweat, and you're going to be paying, a ton of money for 1 year to Chase Young. Facts. But you can structure, Montez Sweat's deal to where that first year you're not getting hit over the head from a cap standpoint. But you would expect Jonathan Allen's deal to be significant. You would expect year 2 of Payne's deal to be significant. And Chase Young's franchise tag or Sweat's franchise tag, whoever's on it, would be significant. Again, you're not paying a quarterback, so you're fine, to be honest with you. You just can't do that year after year after year. It's going to catch up with you eventually. But you could do that for 1 year. So doesn't have to be the last year, but the likelihood is this is the last year of both of them being on the roster. And because of that, somebody needs to step up. KJ Henry could be that guy. Now, I'm not expecting, massive production from KJ Henry this year. I'm not, because I don't expect him to play all that damn much. If both Sweat and Young are healthy, they're going to be playing the bulk of the snaps. Yep, they're going to get, some rest, and they're going to be opportunities for, KJ Henry to be on the field and get some run. But all I'm looking for from him is to find himself somewhere in that 3 to 5.5 sack range. If he ends the season with 4.5 sacks, that is a success. For the amount of snaps that he's going to play, that we project him to play, I should say. That's an incredible year, and I'm looking forward to seeing him and what he can do on a much larger scale with more opportunities. Anything north of that, we got ourselves a killer. I don't know if I'm not expecting that. Anything less than that, and I'm not going to be super disappointed, But what I'm looking for is promise. That's all I'm really looking for. Can he hold his own in the run game consistently? And, is he getting pressure when he is getting opportunities? Is he getting pressure? Or did I not even notice him being in the game because he wasn't even close to the quarterback? So we'll see. We'll see. I expect him to have, my number for him is 3.5 sacks. I put the over-under on 3.5 for KJ Henry. I think he can get to 3.5. I'm pushing at 3.5. That's why I'm setting the number at 3.5. You can tell me over-under on 3.5 for KJ Henry. Brendan McCloskey, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Brendan writes, Lou, as a Nats fan, heck of a comeback by the Braves tonight. One thing we can both agree on is laughing at the Mets, LOL. Hashtag go Nats, hashtag for the A, hashtag Commanders. So that confirms it. My guy JP had already told me that there was a comeback by the Braves, but you saying it is doubling down on it. So, and I believe JP when he said it, but you saying it also confirms it for me that we did come back. So now I'm excited. We swept them. They had gotten as close as, I think, 5 games when this series started. Now they're out to 8 games back in the division. The Marlins are actually closer than the damn Mets. I didn't realize the Marlins had been playing such great baseball. I remember they got off to a relatively good start for them, but I didn't expect it to last. I look up and they're 3 games back. I'm like, what the hell is going on out here? So, yeah, it's the Marlins I need to be worried about. Not the Phillies, not the Mets, but the Marlins. Go figure. They even got a guy, Luis Arraez, who's batting over 400. So, yeah, I got to turn my attention to the fish. But it's always good to sweep the Mets. God, I love beating the Mets. They always got some shit that they got to talk. Well, take that back to Flushing, Queens. And put that in your pipe and smoke it. Stinking ass. J Sauer 1990. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, just got here, Lou. Thank God for you. Life been kicking me in the jewels lately. At least I still got the command post with the best host around, Louie T. Hey, I appreciate you, J Sauer 1990. And let me just say this. Whatever life is giving you right now, just be thankful that the man upstairs is allowing you to be over the ground and not under it, right? It could be a lot worse. Trust me, there are people who have tombstones right now who would trade places with you in a heartbeat. Just keep that perspective. We all go through things and life kicks our ass sometimes, but you still breathing, bro. And as long as you got life, you got time to change shit and make it better for you and your family and change your situation. So always keep that perspective, is that it could be a lot worse. That's what I always tell people. You think your shit is bad? Trust me. There's people out there with way worse situations that would trade with you in a heartbeat. Okay? So better days are coming. Just keep grinding, bro. Keep grinding. And I appreciate you supporting the movement, man, as always. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Not taking anything away from what 81 did, just saying, no. And you weren't. I knew, and I know who you are. I know the type of person you are. I knew you were just playing devil's advocate. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you made a valid point. 5 touchdowns is not MVP worthy. I totally get that. But and you played devil's advocate. All I was doing was making the adjustment to the adjustment that was made. I made a statement. You came with a counterpoint and a counter argument. I came with a counter to the counter, right? So, you weren't trying to take anything from what he did. It was a fantastic season. Your point was, and it was a good point that you made, 5 touchdowns ain't winning nobody's MVP trophy. Touche. I'm just saying, knowing what he had to go through on a weekly basis on a bad football team, I give him grace in that department. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. John Perez writes, by the way, did you hear what Nestor Cortez of the Yankees said today, that the Yanks-Red Sox rivalry on the field isn't as strong as it used to be? I didn't until you brought it to my attention. I saw you tweeted it to me today, and you asked me what I thought, and I figured you'd bring it up tonight on the show. So I wanted to respond to your tweet, but I had too much going on to sit down. And I always tell people, don't text me. If you got a lot to say, like, text messaging is for short conversation. Like, hey, did you go to the store to get the milk? Nah, not yet. That's what text messaging is for. Hey, don't forget to get the oil. All right. What kind? Vegetable or canola? Canola. All right. Got you. That's what text messages is for. Not for you to text me no goddamn paragraph. If that's the case, pick up the damn phone and call me. I felt like that tweet you sent me would have demanded a response out of me that would have been much longer than the 100 and whatever characters they give me. So I was like, this is going to take a while. Probably should wait to answer this. Here we are. I know my guy, JP. So how I feel about this is the same way I feel about Washington and Dallas's rivalry. As Washington fans, we want that rivalry to still burn bright and for us to matter and for us to be number one in the hearts of Cowboys fans everywhere is the team they hate the most. But the sad truth of the matter is we're not. They look forward to Eagles matchups way more than they do against us. All right. And that's a fact. Ask any Cowboys fan, they ain't sweating Washington. Give 2 shits about us. It's Philadelphia that they're concerned about. We matter. We make them matter more because we've been taught to hate the Cowboys more than any other team in the division. But the fact of the matter is, Dallas ain't worried about us. They're not checking for us. They're not looking at us. They're looking past us. It's the same way the Yankees feel about the Red Sox. Like the Red Sox, they don't move the needle no more. The Rays have taken over. We ain't worried about the damn Red Sox. ESPN worried about the Red Sox. They worried about putting that shit on Sunday Night Baseball. Yankees are like, F that. Where the Rays at? Where the Blue Jays at? Where the teams? The Orioles is even better than the Red Sox. Where they at? Like, that's what they're concerned about. We got a big series coming up, a 4-game set with the Rays. They getting juiced up for that. You got a 4-game set with the Red Sox. Oh, okay, it's Boston. That's how they feel right now. That's real spill, right? That's how Dallas feels about us. We getting juiced up for Dallas. They're like, oh, it's just Washington. Philadelphia on the schedule. All right, Birdman hand rub. I asked y'all that last year, and y'all jumped down my damn throat. I thought I was going to have to get my tonsils taken out. Y'all jumped down my throat so aggressively when I said, is this shit even really a rivalry anymore? Of course it is, Louie T. It's Dallas. It's always a rivalry. I'm like, y'all not understanding what I'm asking you. Yeah, of course you still want to beat Dallas. Yeah, it's still a division game, but it ain't what it used to be. Again, this goes back to my original point that I made earlier. Don't nobody give a damn about a loser. One of my favorite sayings, I made this one up. So I'm the wise man here. I let the losers worry about losing. What I give a damn about a loser for? If I'm over here winning, I am not concerned about what a loser talking about. Let the losers worry about losing. You think Dallas worried about us? They 12-5. You think they give a damn about what 8-1 Washington is talking about? Yeah, we whooped their ass in week 18, and that felt damn good. Right? Oh, it felt great. You know what they said? Off to the playoffs. No worries. Y'all go home and watch us play. They weren't worried about us. They was more concerned, can we get to Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game? They weren't worried about us kicking their ass in week 18. Can we get to Philly? Can we somehow make it to Philadelphia? That's how the Yankees are viewing the Red Sox. Damn the Red Sox. Can we get to the Rays? I mean, it's hard to admit when you're not that team anymore. You know, like it should always be that team and that team pitted against one another. When you're not that team no more, when they're not looking at you like that team no more, that's a bitter pill to swallow. But it's some shit you got to acknowledge. I'm a realist. I told y'all last year. In week 18, I said, I asked y'all, is this even a rivalry anymore? And I wasn't saying it in the sense that we don't want to beat Dallas. Because like I said, when we did it, as soon as they kicked the damn ball off, all that shit I've been talking all week about, I don't want to win this game. And, you know, this shit, you know, especially if Heineke had played, you know, with Sam playing, it changed my you know, thought about that game. But if Heineke had played, I wouldn't have gave a shit about that game. But when I knew Sam was getting the nod, I was like, all right, I want to see 14. And I want him to win. And I want him to look good doing it. But I'm going to just keep it a buck with y'all. And I told y'all that last year, and I feel the same way this year. If you want Dallas to respect you, if you want that rivalry back, you got to win. Winning changes everything. We got to change the narrative. Winning does that on a much larger scale. You want individuals to get their accolades and their just due? Win. You want the national media to give us the respect that we deserve? Win. You want people to stop shitting on us every day? You want to not take a daily dose of disrespect? Win. All of that shit can be changed with one letter. A dub. Consistently getting dubs. Stacking up bricks in the left-hand column. We just haven't done it enough. And that's all Nestor Cortez is saying. We won't respect y'all no more like that. We more concerned with the Rays. They running the shit. Last time I checked, I looked up at the AL East standings. I looked at the top, and the Rays were way up there. They ain't worried about the Red Sox. Where y'all at? Y'all down there somewhere. Tripping off of y'all. Blue Jays got all these young, talented players. We worried about trying to get through their lineup with all those bats that they got. Worried about y'all. That's the same way Dallas feels about us. So I get it. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Red Wings writes, the AP discussion was for first team. Sheriff was the first since Turk, but we've had a lot of second team APs in that time. Trent, Moss, Fletcher, etc. Yeah. And second team is cool. I just want some acknowledgement because I don't think that Dexter Lawrence was first team. I think he was second team. I just want the acknowledgement. You know what I'm saying? Second team All-Pro is great because, again, this ain't like the NBA. You know, well, it is kind of like the NBA in the sense that there's not a lot of spots available. You know, this ain't the Pro Bowl where they're naming like 6 dudes at every position. All-Pro is just one dude, like it's 2 receivers, right? For first team All-Pro. It's 2 receivers for second team. Like, it ain't a lot. So you got to be the best of the best of the best. So All-Pro, first team, second team, it's all good. First team means you're the best in the league at your position. Period. End of discussion. We rarely have that. We usually have one of the best. But if we do have that, it's one of the best. It's not the best. The closest we've had to that was Trent. So when we come remotely close to that, I need my acknowledgement. So that's part of the discussion. I feel really good about where we are from a talent perspective, because I think we got a couple more dudes that could add their name to that list when it's all said and done. You know, I'm looking at Jahan and I'm like, bro, you got a chance to be special. We get the right quarterback, we get the right system, and Jahan has a chance. I mean, maybe not all pro, but when we start having these receiver conversations, it's no doubt. We leave no doubt. I think Jahan has the ability to do that for us. When's the last time we had a combination like that? Again, you got to go back to Jackson and Garcon, right? And before that, Westbrook and Connell, right? Like, Moss never had a real running mate. I mean, the dude that he probably ran with was Cooley. That's a tight end, though. He didn't have any real receivers out there doing damage with him. So, I mean, I think we got an opportunity. I think Tez has a chance to ascend, right? I really, truly believe we got a couple of dudes that have a chance to be blue chippers on this roster. We already know that John, Duran, and Terry are blue chippers. I think that Montez can add his name to that list. I think Jahan can add his name to that list. I really think, and you know, he's got limitations, and moving him around may not help his case. I really think Benjamin St. Juste, if he can stay healthy, he showed me a lot last year, man. He's a dog. He's a dog. He may not ever be a blue chipper, but he'll be like a pristine red chip, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we got a lot of dudes, man, you know, that are up and coming, that give us a shot. You know, I'm looking at some of these safeties and I'm saying, all right, Cam Curl, what you got? All right, Derek Forrest, what you got? We adding more dudes to the list. Again, I want us to add a name or two to the offensive line. Like, we need to fortify that offensive line group with one or two dudes where we go, okay, we got an anchor on the line. We need one of these young boys to pan out. I don't care if it's center, guard. I really don't give a shit. We need a dog on that line, that O-line. We get that, and Sam is what I think he is. Look out. Look out. So, to your point, that AP discussion was for first team. That's probably what it was. It's probably what it was first team. Sheriff was a first teamer. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get a lot of those accolades if you're not good. Period. London Fletcher was a really good linebacker for the duration of his career. He didn't get a lot of attention. Why? Because he played on bad teams. Won the Super Bowl in like his second year in the league, first or second year in the league with the Rams, but really didn't get a starring role till he got in Buffalo. They sucked. Never made it to the playoffs while he was there. Gets to Washington, we suck. You know, maybe we made the playoffs once or twice while he was here. Made it to his first Pro Bowl in like year 12 or 13 of his career, whatever it was. Play on better teams. London Fletcher gets some shine. His name's out there. He doesn't make it to a Pro Bowl. He doesn't have to wait till year 12 or 13 to make it to a Pro Bowl. He makes it in year 7 or 8 instead. But again, that shit matters. As much as you would like to say, hey, let a player and his production, you know, let him stand on his own merit. That's not how this shit works. People are biased. We're humans. And you gravitate towards good teams. So it is what it is. Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, if we can just beat the brakes off of Dallas on Thanksgiving, The bandwagon tickets will sell like crack in 88. And we'll get the respect like Aretha. RESPECT. We trying to make them find out what that means to us. Not just me. All of us. We did it before. We can do it again. But that was the Dakless Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. We've never beaten Dak on Thanksgiving. We've tried. We failed. So that would be a new for us, getting Dak on Thanksgiving. As a matter of fact, we haven't beaten Dak in Dallas yet. That would be a first as well. So a lot of things that we still have yet to do and a lot of work left to accomplish. But I think no time like the present, right? This is the group that I think is fully capable of getting that done. So as much as I hate playing on Thanksgiving, nothing would make Thanksgiving sweeter than beating Dallas. But again, there will be 11 games prior to that Dallas game. I am concerned with every single one of those before we get to Dallas for the very first time in 2023. So to your point, you want Dallas's respect, you got to take it from them. Again, they're not looking at us, they're looking past us. So if you want Dallas to respect you, take that respect from them. Go to their house and take it from them. Sell like crack in 88. That's a good one. Going Commando. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, sup, Lou? Sup, Going Commando? It's getting cringy hearing fans/media dismiss how. Very apparent they've done zero research and are just parroting what they've heard. Hashtag NHO. Look, it's easy to go with the groupthink mentality. It's easy to do that. It's hard to go out on a limb and stand 10 toes down in what you truly believe or go against the grain. I've said this about this fan base in particular. I can't speak to this with any other fan base or in regards to any other team that I'm not a fan of. I can only speak from experience. This fan base in particular is scarred and has every right to be scarred. This team has done things to us that are unimaginable over the last 2 decades plus. We've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in ways that I can't even begin to explain to you. We've thrown seasons down the drain in ways that are still hard to fathom. We've started off seasons that have dug us such deep holes that it's made it so hard to climb out of them. We've made a lot of mistakes. We've gotten our hopes up only to have them dashed over and over and over again. And so fans don't want to get hurt again. They don't want to allow their guards to be down, only to get socked in the chin again and knocked down to the canvas. So in order to guard against that, and I always use this analogy, if your dad ain't shit and you used to your dad telling you he's coming to get you, but he never shows up, and every time you fall for the banana in the tailpipe and you think this will be the time that he actually follows through, and every time you get your feelings hurt and you feel like shit and you tell yourself, I'm never going to feel like that again. Then your dad calls, you turn into that 7-year-old that's just looking for his dad's love and affection. And he says, hey, what do you think about this? I'm coming to get you this weekend. We're going to go to this amusement park. We're going to have a great time. And you're like, sounds great, Dad. In the back of your mind, you're like, you're full of shit. You're not coming. But the front of your mind is like, maybe, just maybe, this is the time he'll show up. We'll have a great time. And he'll start to do the things that he said he's going to do. Because you want to believe. But you're smart enough. You know better. And of course he doesn't show up. And of course you get your feelings hurt again, because even though you had your walls up and your guards up, you still let him down because it's your dad. That's how this team, affects us. You want to believe. You really, truly do. But every time you find yourself believing and you tell yourself, I'm not doing that shit again. I did that last year. Or I did that the year before. I did this when this happened or when that happened. I'm not doing that shit again. And then you get sucked in again. And just like last year, when we won 6 out of 7 and we're playing excellent football, we wet the bed. And we lose 3 out of our final 4 games. Or just like the year before, you win 4 in a row and you're 6-6 and you're riding high and you got 5 division games left to end the season. What do? You lose 4 out of your final 5 games and miss the playoffs again. You're sick of it. You're like, I'm not doing that shit again. But then the season comes calling. The excitement starts to drum up again. And you find yourself back in that same familiar spot. Fighting the urge to believe again. Because you don't want to get hurt. And a lot of people suffer from that as Washington fans. So they're like, nah, Sam Howell ain't it. He can't be. Because Heineke won't it. Dwayne Haskins won't it. Robert Griffin III won't it. Kirk Cousins won't it. Why is he any different? He's a 5th round pick. He definitely ain't it. To them, I say, just wait and see. Just wait and see. I get it. I don't get upset at them. They have every right to be skeptical, to question, to doubt, to be pessimistic. They have every right to be, which is why I don't get upset. And once they see what's going on and they get on board, I'm going to welcome them with open arms. They just need a reason to believe. But we have to, Sam has to give them that. For some, that one game against Dallas isn't enough. Touche. I'm not mad at you for that. It's a small sample. It's a very small sample size. Okay? Very small. Some people don't believe in Ron Rivera. I don't blame you. 1-5 in his first season to start. 2-6 in his second season to start. 1-4 in his third season to start. I don't blame you. Oh, well, Rivera teams always start slow, but they finish fast. Let's see. They won 4 in a row in 2020. Did they finish that season fast? Did they finish strong? Because they lost to Carolina. They lost to Seattle. Yeah, they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in week 17. It's the Eagles. They were awful that year. Right? They didn't finish that season strong. They limped to the finish line. How about 2021? Oh, they start slow, but Rivera teams, they come on strong. Lose 4 out of your final 5 games. Yeah, COVID and injuries. Yeah, look, we've done that whole song and dance. I don't care. All right, what about 2020? Up 1-4, another slow start. 6 out of 7. Here we go, 7-5. You tie. You lose 3 straight, including a boneheaded decision to keep Carson Wentz in for the entire duration of that Browns game. And then you win against Dallas in week 18 to salvage what was a terrible finish to the season. So people don't trust Rivera. I get it. I get it. You don't trust Rivera. You don't trust his ability to mold a quarterback. You don't trust his ability to coach a team to success from weeks 1 to 18. I get it. And you're not wrong about any of it. Part of being a fan is being hopelessly optimistic about things, even in the face of impending doom. Okay. Now, someone like myself, who everything that I do is rooted in reality, right? Things that are tangible, things that I can see, touch. It has to make sense. I'm very practical. 19 was never going to be a successful season. I was never going to be excited about 19. The only thing I was excited about with 20 was that Bruce Allen was gone. But I knew we were going to suck. I did not anticipate us winning the division. I did not anticipate the entire division being garbage. I couldn't have forecast that Dak Prescott would break his ankle and that they would have to go through the season with, JMU and Andy Dalton. Could never have predicted that. Knew the Eagles might struggle, but we couldn't have predicted that Carson Wentz would have a total meltdown all in the same season. Right? I wasn't optimistic about 2020. I was just happy Bruce Allen wasn't here anymore. 2021, I did not believe, you guys know this, I did not believe in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I wasn't buying the hype. And I said the worst thing that happened to Ron, and I told y'all that in the moment. Ron's now starting to admit this, by the way. I don't know if you caught this over this past week, but he's starting to admit, yeah, us winning the division. Remember, he talked about maturity going into that 2021 season. Well, the lack of maturity came from people thinking that we had arrived because we won the division at 7-9. I said it's the worst thing that could have happened to Ron. It was the best thing and the worst thing at the same time. Expectations for fans and the media went through the roof. Oh, they got Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're coming off of winning the division. Look out for Washington. For what? We still don't have no damn receivers. We still don't have no damn talent for real. Look out for Washington for what? 22 felt a little bit different. More talent, different quarterback, different set of circumstances, same results, same shit, different toilet. Start slow, pick it up, give yourself hope, have it snatched from you at the very end. Injuries, same excuses, same shit we always talk about. Why is this season going to be any different? Well, Dan's not here. That's a hell of a starter, right? I mean, that, if nothing else, that should be where we start the conversation. Where we end it could be EB being here as well. But we're more talented too. Like, this is the completion of what Ron's vision for this team looked like. Maybe not at quarterback. He probably envisioned, us already having that position established by now. But outside of that, I think this is what he envisioned the roster being. Something to this effect. Something to this degree. We're talented everywhere. Some places more than others. Some leave, a lot to be desired. But there's enough talent to go around on this roster. I still have my doubts about the defensive line. Or offensive line rather, not defensive line. Still have my doubts about the offensive line. And defensively, while I love all the pieces, I'm still not sure because of the strength of the schedule and the quarterbacks that we will face. I still need to see it. Again, I'm not one of these people that, oh yeah, we were best third down defense in football last year. This defense is elite. No, need to see it. We didn't play Josh Allen last year. I need to see it to believe it. It's going to be a much tougher schedule this year. Much tougher. We didn't face Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and that whole crew last year. No, didn't face those guys. Aaron Rodgers got a much better supporting cast around him than the crew he was rolling with last year. It's a different Aaron Rodgers this year. It's a totally different schedule. So I need to see it first. But I'm optimistic. Some people aren't, and I get why they aren't. But what I encourage you as a fan is to not be judgmental of those fans who don't believe, who don't see the vision. Don't be judgmental. Let them live in their truth, right? We've all been affected by this team mentally. Everybody deals with it differently. So let them live in their truth. It may turn out to be wrong, but it's their truth. Let them live in that. If they don't think Sam Howell is the answer, let them live in their truth. I think they're going to be wrong, but let them live in that. If they don't think Ron's the right guy for the job, I probably don't believe it. He is either, but let them live in that truth. I already told you, I already made my bold statement, my hot take last week. Ron's saving his job this year, and he's going to have that 2015 Carolina Panthers run next year, which means he's probably not going anywhere in the foreseeable future, at least for the next 3 or 4 years. Again, you don't have to agree with me there. Okay, that's a hot take for a reason. Hot takes aren't meant to be cold. They're meant to be piping hot. So again, I'm not looking for the fan base to be divisive. You don't have to point the finger at somebody because they don't agree with you. If they don't believe in Sam, let them not believe. Eventually, they will see. They may be right. They may be wrong. Either way, time will reveal all. All right. Time will reveal all. So, again, I get more upset, less with the fan base, more upset with, talking heads, people who get paid to do this for a living, who do zero homework, who just spew something they heard somebody else say, or, oh, it's Washington, they suck. When EB came here, they don't have any talent. If he can change that team around, if he can win with them, I'm like, clearly, you have no idea what you're talking about. Because if you would have said, if he can win in Washington without a quarterback, okay, I could live with that statement. Because we don't have a quarterback, technically speaking, yet. I can live with that statement. That's not false. But when you go and say something like, yeah, they don't have no talent. What? Come again? That's when I have a problem. But anyway, I digress. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Rocky D, writes. Random thought. Imagine one of our top players going through the same situation like Zion Williamson with the porn star and the baby mama drama. Should the player get cut as a distraction, or does winning cure all? LOL. This is the thing you have to understand about sports. And this is the thing that people get caught up in too often. Their personal life is their personal life. Period. As long as their personal life doesn't affect their professional life, you should not have an issue with that. Now, again, as long as they're not breaking no laws, they're not hurting anybody, what are we talking about? If Zion wants to knock up a porn star, or she's talking about she's potentially pregnant and, got a baby mama over here, that's his business. That's the problem with society is everybody want to be in everybody else's business. That's what social media has done, is it's given people this nasty ability, and this is some nasty work here, right? The ability to be in other people's business and not allow people to just live their lives. People are imperfect. Nobody's perfect. You know, people make mistakes. People make bad decisions all the time. They don't get to make them in private anymore. Everything is put out for the masses to consume. And so if Zion's dropping 30 points, shooting 61% from the field, and grabbing 11 boards, who gives a shit who he's banging? I don't give a damn. Those are all-star numbers. Give a shit what he's doing. If he ain't hurting nobody, he ain't breaking no laws, do whatever he wants to do. He can knock up 8 women. Dudes do it all the time. You know, that's the problem I have is we so consumed with what people are doing. You know, how often do we hear, you should, you know, you see somebody, they post a picture of them, they in the studio working on music. You should be working on your craft. He's got a life. He can do other things. He's not a robot. He can do other things than play football. You know, if somebody's got some things that's going on in their life and it turns out to be a distraction for them and it's affecting their play, you still don't I mean, if they're talented enough, you still shouldn't cut them. You just got to let them know, hey, look, man, you got to start compartmentalizing. You leave that shit from home at home. You come in here, you give us the best of what you've got to give us, and then you go home and you pick right up where you left that shit off at. But somebody's personal life should be their personal life. That's why it's called personal, right? But that's the problem with social media is it doesn't allow people to have personal lives anymore. But anyway, at the end of the day, I don't give a damn who's doing what as long as they're not breaking any laws. I mean, Lawrence Taylor was doing coke his entire career for most of it. And he was out here bagging quarterbacks, picking off passes, destroying the NFL, and becoming the most dominant defensive player most people have ever seen in their life. You think a lot of his teammates didn't know he was out there getting busy with the nose candy? You think they didn't know? Shit, some of them was probably, you know, knocking some of that back with him. 80s was wild times out there, man. Streets was crazy. You think they gave a shit? The Giants organization probably knew, man, he's coked out of his mind right now. But man, LT had 3 sacks and a pick 6, bro. Should we cut him? He's a distraction. Hell no. Go get him an 8-ball. What's wrong with you? I kid. Bottom line is, personal life is personal. Professional life is professional life. That's how it should be. Anyway, I digress. Amero D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Amero Delcid, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. So that is it. The final super. I'm gonna go down here real quick and see if I can find a comment from Amero and see if he had something he wanted to say before we get out of here. So I'm assuming this is your super chat right here. He writes, honestly, Lou, I feel Sam and AB will have us saying what the F. I don't know. We'll see. I'm assuming that A is supposed to be an E, but you know, it's funny because I think EB already has us saying that. You know, all this excitement surrounding EB, all of this optimism, this culture change, if you will, that he's brought with him, already has people questioning what the F was Scott Turner doing this entire time. I mean, it's a fair question. Two different coaching styles, obviously, but at the end of the day, call a spade a spade. EB's coming here and changed it. We'll see if there's substance to all of this noise that we're making, right? That the players are making, the coaching staff, these fans. But it, again, I can't say this enough. It feels different. I said that last year, though, so I don't know if that carries any weight with some of you, but that's fine. I don't mind. It feels different for various reasons. And you already know how I feel about Sam. I don't have to continue to beat that horse. It's been long dead. I feel how I feel about Sam. It's NHO. You either get down or lay down, and we taking over. So, hopefully EB and Sam make beautiful music together. And all I'm asking for is that all I ask for is that we just get EB for more than 1 year. If he kills it, if he absolutely knocks it out of the park, I think he's gone. And I would hate to see him change the culture here and all this success happen and then he bolts. And it's very possible that it happens. And it's Sean McVay 2.0 all over again. That shit is cringeworthy for me. I mean, because again, in hindsight, I remember very vividly saying, we can't get rid of Jay Gruden. Now, a lot of y'all was like, F Jay Gruden. Sean McVay is the guy we need to keep. And I was like, yo, Gruden just won us back-to-back seasons, had us over 500 for the first time since Gibbs did it in 91 and 92, bro. Like, we can't bail on him now. He's on to something. Y'all was like, yo, F what you talking about, bro. Sean McVay is about to leave. We need to keep him. Fire Gruden right now, hire, that would have been, some shit like the Caps did when they won the Stanley Cup and they didn't keep their coach. They let him leave and hired like what's equivalent to like the offensive coordinator in football. Like, this is the dude that's the mastermind behind all of this. They ain't never been as good since, right? You just don't see that happen very often. So if he were to leave, eventually, if he's good, he will get a job and he will go, right? But here's my thought process. If we could just get him for 2 years, we can just get him for 2 years. By then, I think he would have instilled a culture here that no matter who's here, they'll be able to carry on tradition. But more importantly, somebody on the staff would have been under his tutelage for long enough to be able to say, all right, he can go and we can promote you to offensive coordinator and you can keep a lot of the same principles intact. We don't have to change the verbiage. We don't have to change our philosophical approach. There may be a couple of tweaks here or there that you see fit to change, but for the most part, we keeping the party going. I truly believe that's why they brought in the new quarterbacks coach. I really, truly believe they want him to kind of be this EB understudy. Because when EB bolts, they're going to need somebody to step into the OC role. And I think they're hoping it's him. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I digress. Quan Legend, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Emmanuel Pickpocket Forbes. There will be a lot of nicknames thrown out for him. I've seen a lot of them, and most of them have been hideous, by the way. So we'll see what happens with old Pickpocket. He's living up to the billing so far, but again, it's minicamp, right? Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Let's see him do it in a game first before, I think he's going to continue to do it in camp. And, we're going to get more excited. I want to see him do it in a game. But I'm pretty sure, look, dude's done it at every level he's been at. He's got a gift, I think. So we'll see. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on another installment of the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Again, if you are out there, you enjoy music, you enjoy your man Louie T, you can put the two together. I got another channel called MusicHead University. Uploads are every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Just put out a video on my man Big L. Big L, rest in peace. All different genres. We talking about a lot, mostly R&B though. But I did drop a rap video for y'all rap heads out there. And there'll be more of those, obviously, because I myself enjoy rap music. So, and rock, and pop, and house, and so forth and so forth. So anyway, if you enjoy music, check out the kid over on my other channel, MusicHead University. You won't be sorry. But with that said, I am going to get out of here, as should you. And we will reconvene over the weekend. I think I got a video or two for y'all over the weekend. I'm going to check and see if that Commander's Log came out or not. But even if it didn't, I still need to talk to y'all about Commander's Log episode number 4, because there's some things that I want to say about that. Anyway, you guys get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you tomorrow for the podcast. If not, maybe over the weekend. God bless, and good night. The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.